All right. The Xbox 2 podcast is now coming at you live on this beautiful July 5th, episode number, 323, I think. Whatever Jez labeled it on Patreon. 323. Let's go with that.
I think it is 323.
Okay, that's good.
I've got a sneaking suspicion. Might have lost count.
Might have lost count somewhere along the way. Okay.
Yeah.
So something 323, 322, 324. One of those ones. Yeah. But we are here. Randall 419, the man with the million, at your service. And we have newly elected Prime Minister of the UK, Jez Corden himself. Managing editor, Windows Central. He was telling me about some dude named Buckethead almost won or some shit, so I figured, why not Jez Corden?
Yeah, oh man, it's been politics all day in the UK, but yes, we've finally gotten rid of the useless party that were in power the last 14 years, and turned a page, and now into uncharted territory. But yeah, this is about as much politics as I can stand for one podcast. But other than that, it's just been gaming, and I'm actually back in the good old United Kingdom at the moment.
Yes.
Came back to vote, do my civic duty, also to visit family and stuff. It's really cool because I have exactly the same mic here that I have in Germany, so hopefully I don't sound any different. Hopefully.
No, you sound fine. You sound fine.
Yeah, the good old Elgato mic.
Yeah. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us on this Friday the 5th. I much prefer doing these podcasts on Fridays, the normal day for us, than, Saturdays or Mondays. And Friday is this Xbox 2 day. It's kind of what it is. But, when I was going through looking at all the things that happened this week, I realized that, man, nothing happened this week. Like, really, nothing. It has to have been, like, one of the slowest weeks in recent years. Like, seriously. So, yeah, we're going to have to rely on the chat for some topics that they want to talk about, because I'm, like,
we're gonna have to,
dredging from the bottom of the barrel, bro. Seriously. It's just like, okay. But anyways.
It happens. We have these slow news weeks. I mean, it's the summer. It's like a lot of Microsoft people. Yeah, July 4th. This is summer. A lot of Microsoft people are on vacation right now. So it's the slow times. It's the slow times. And also, like, aren't American schools closed now? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's the summer, so the.
So yeah, and so like there'll be, I don't know. It's that time of year where people go outside and touch grass. So it's the time of year where developers are just like, okay, we're gonna take a little break. We're gonna circle back around when it's cold and everyone gets stuck inside again in a few weeks. But we're not quite there yet. But there's still some fun stuff we can talk about, and we can always.
Yeah, Neon White finally coming to Game Pass. I know people.
What is that game?
It's like a card builder, but it's also like you get these cards that have like abilities or guns on them that you use, and it's basically it's a first person shooter, but it's all time based. It's all skill based. It's all about completing the levels in the shortest amount of time possible and like beating your friends on the leaderboards and stuff. Reviewed very extremely high. Right, I think it came out on PC and Switch 2 years ago, and then PlayStation a year ago, and now it's like, all right, well, we hit them all up, so let's do it. It's on Xbox, supposed to be launching next week, day one on Game Pass. So, I know a lot of people have been looking forward to that game.
It's nice that Xbox gets it.
That's one of those Annapurna Interactive games. Got to give a shout out here to She's My Kinda Crazy. Love the show, Rand. Been subscribed for a while now. First time saying anything in chat. Well, thank you for being here. It's always it's always somebody's first time checking out the show live, or I always see that when I see chat about like, oh, I'm here for the first time. Yeah, someone asked about layoffs, Xbox layoffs. I mean, I think me and you were talking about that before. Didn't really seem like
Yeah,
there's that many. It seems like it was more like a few rather than like here's 1900 like it was back in like March or May. So I don't know. Maybe there'll be
yeah.
more next week. I'm not
It's
sure.
labs always suck. Like, you have to think about the individuals impacted, and like there was some really cool people who were laid off, which is it just sucks, man. It just sucks whenever this happens. But it doesn't seem like it's been a huge wave yet. Hopefully, like, it doesn't get more crazy than this, but it does seem like there's some people have been laid off, like a sprinkling, but they've also got like tons of vacancies up on their website as well.
They do
So
have a tons of vacancies. So it's like
yeah,
you're gonna lay off some people while you still are trying to hire some people. So Scott
yeah.
Ferguson says it's his first time here as well. Anybody's first time here, let us know in chat. We'll love to see any new people here. We do have a topic suggestion here, Jez. It's going to make you
Oh,
upset, my answer. Raj says, topic suggestion, Diablo 4, good, bad, or mid? Mid, bro.
oh snap!
Diablo 4 is nothing but just mid. Like, I don't
Man,
know. I see those I see those incredible cutscenes, the incredible cinematics that Blizzard makes for Diablo, and I'm like, man, it's too bad it's like tied to a franchise with 30-year-old gameplay, you know?
30-year-old gameplay.
I'm just saying these things to
Why
make
you gotta
Jez
troll?
mad, you know? Because
Why you gotta troll? You trolling.
before the podcast started, Jez was he was coming at me about Dead Space. He was making me upset about Dead Space, so I'm gonna make him upset
Wasn't
about Diablo
coming
4.
at you.
Yeah, you were. You're
I
like
wouldn't say
you were like
that.
Dead Space is dead, Rand. Like it should be. It's over. You'll never see.
I
it
didn't say
again.
it should be.
Yeah, you did, bro. Come on.
No, I did not. I did say it was dead though. We were talking about the fact that Dead Space has a very strange collaborative event in
Very
Battlefield
strange.
right now. The strange, very very strange. So Battlefield has a Dead Space, Battlefield 2042, which is also not very well received shooter. I tried playing that again recently. I randomly got this sort of thing in my head. I was like, oh man, I really feel like I could go for some Battlefield right now. And I fired Battlefield 2042, and I just hate it. It's just I just can't stand it, man. I just really can't stand it. But yeah, for whatever reason, EA was like, you know what? You know what this game needs? This game needs a collab. This
Yes.
game needs a
It
collab.
needs a Dead Space collab, which
It
would
needs
have
a
been
Dead Space
something to
collab.
do maybe when the game actually came out, Dead Space that is, right? You would think, get some corporate synergy going on. Be like, hey, we have a Dead Space remake, but guess what? Battlefield 2042, our shooter that didn't do well initially at launch and then kind of has done well. Like we got this event where you can buy Dead Space armor to make your dude look like Isaac Clarke, and then you know shoot your way through levels. Like you figured that would have been something you would do around I don't know the timing of the game 2 years ago at this point, right? Is no,
Yeah.
or was that last year? No, that was last January. But no, you know what? Why not? Like, why not? A year and a half later, here we go. There's a Battlefield event centered around Dead Space, which we'll never see again because once again, nobody bought Dead Space, and it is just really odd to see
Yeah.
that happen.
It's painful, man. It's painful. Like, yeah, it's it's like sometimes we get these games where um, it's like it feels like impossible and it feels lucky. It's like, oh wow, they're actually gonna make a go of this and give it another chance to shine, and then it'll just it doesn't pan out.
I know.
They just doesn't sell, and then we don't get sequels, and that's the end of it. And
Yeah.
I, yeah, I don't know. The industry's in this weird sort of place now where it's like, unless something becomes a Fortnite, then it's just not good enough for certain corners, I suppose.
Yeah.
But
Well, you
what you
know what?
can do, huh?
Let's welcome everybody in. let's do a little house cleaning real quick so we can get to the rest of the show. We have the
Sounds
wonderful
good.
Patreons of ours who support the podcast and what we do. Thank you to everybody who signed up and is, we have the question and answer thread for this episode is up if you want to go and drop your questions. I'm sure there'll be a lot of time to answer those because I don't think the show's going to be very long today. It's definitely not a 4-hour banger. But so go, if you have any question you want to ask, go ahead, go do that. We should be doing Xbox 2 Ultimate this upcoming week, probably around Tuesday. Yep. So be on the lookout in your inboxes for that, drop of the link. We do have some shout-outs here. We got Inner Machine, Straight Allure, Xbox Dave, Jay Peltier, Thurgus, Christian The Password, Holy Dark Death, Steve Stompy, James Wiseau, Trixar for Trey, Battered Haddock, Army Dude 52C, Ryan Kipple, Foreign Object, Mythic, Marty, Moronic Donkey 99, Randall Thor 19, Silas, Eric Gregory, James Moore, Fantasticals, K-Trax, Bright Tundra 1, Discarded Caboose, Justin Duell, Frank Mariano, PB Bro King, Ace T and Madison, Governor Grimm, DZ Huffin, Achievement, The Scarecrow 121, Darren Tropey, Prof JJJ, Ghostface Killer, and Wolfgang KPZ. Thank you guys so much for supporting what we do here. Skyhammer says, why is today's show going to be shorter than usual? One, Jez just flew into the UK, so Jez is sort of jet lagged. So Jez requested a shorter show today because he's tired, because he's flying all over Europe. Also, I mean, we kind of just go until we run out of things to talk about, and we're already kind of starting with not a lot of things to talk about. So,
I mean, it might end up going 4 hours.
Who knows?
Depending on what happens.
Who knows?
I mean, there's often times where we're like, oh well, we don't have that much to talk about, so we need to improvise and stuff, and then we end up going 4 hours anyway.
Yeah. You know how many times Jez has been like, can we end the show? And it's like 3 hours, and then we go another hour.
Yeah.
So who knows?
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. What gameplay footage are you using today, Rand?
So here's the thing. I have Doom up here, Doom Eternal, because I started Cyberpunk. Yes.
Oh, finally.
I started Cyberpunk,
That's
and
good.
I think the game's trolling me.
Oh.
And might deserve it because I was grabbing some Cyberpunk footage, and during the prologue, I got hit with. Okay, so I'm doing the prologue. I pick my character. I'm like 20, 30 minutes in, and I can already tell, like, oh man, I think I'm gonna really like this game, right? And then all of a sudden, I get hit with an infinite saving icon.
Oh.
Right? The saving icon won't leave. And I'm like, all right, well, let me pick a different save. I don't have any saves. Like, okay. So
that's bad.
So I, close the game. Obviously, like recording cut off or whatever. And I load the game back up. And I don't know if you guys have played Cyberpunk recently. You get to the main screen and you press start and it says breaching. And then it's supposed to load you into the main menu. It wouldn't go past breaching. It sat on the main menu saying breaching for 15 minutes.
That's no good.
Wouldn't move past it. So I'm like, what the hell's going on? So I restarted my Xbox as the first thing you should always do if you're having problems with Xbox or a game is you basically do a hard reset of the system. So I go up to the Xbox, I hold in the power button until it basically turns off, restart the system. Okay, start Cyberpunk back up. Just sits there at breaching. And I'm like, what the I'm like, I finally decide to play Cyberpunk, and the game won't let me fucking play it.
That's really strange. Have you reinstalled it, maybe?
So, eventually, after like 20 minutes, it powered through... It powered through the breaching, and I got past the main menu. And I was like, oh, okay.
That's good.
And then it was like, I had no saves. So I'm like, what the hell? I went to, it was basically just start a new
That is
game.
really weird.
And I'm like, what is going on here, right? So then I turned the game off and I hard resetted my Xbox again, started it up, and this time I was able to get through the main menu pretty fast. And all my saves were there. And so I start at, but this, I mean, like, at that point, like, I think I had wasted, like, almost a whole bunch of time, so I started playing a little bit more, and I was like, all right, I'll come back to this a different day. But, yeah, my initial experience was one of frustration because, like, the game wouldn't, and so I started searching on Reddit, I started searching on Google, like, Cyberpunk 2077, infinite saving. Sure enough, there's some Reddit thread about it, or infinite. Apparently it's a bug that hasn't been fixed in over a year. It's something to do with them trying to sync up the cloud saves on all the platforms together or something.
Oh yeah, they use the GOG accounts, right?
Something like that, yeah. So, I mean, I don't have a GOG account. I'm not planning on playing this anywhere else. So,
yeah.
Either way, I think it's finally
weird,
fixed. But as you know, when I was playing, I was just like, the vibe, how the game looked, the dialogue. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get lost in this game. I can tell.
Like, yeah, it is spectacular. And I was thinking about this the other day, like when I first played it and stuff. Like that vibe that existed in the game at launch. It's not like they haven't patched that in. They've improved the combat and they've fixed a lot of bugs, but like the game was special at launch, and it really is just really, really special the whole way through. I think it was just positioned poorly. I think a lot of people were expecting it to be Grand Theft Auto Cyberpunk, but it's really not. It really is like The Witcher through and through. It's a first-person RPG first and foremost. But do the side missions, man. The side missions are all great.
The problem with open world games for me is I have this OCD-ness when it comes to it that I have to do everything. Anybody else here feel the same? That you almost feel compelled that you can't move on to go do something else until you've cleared a section of the map? That's usually how I play all my open world stuff. If there's new icons that pop up with new missions, I go, I see what they are, they give me the things, and I go and do them. And I kind of do everything in an area before I move on to the next. So I'm assuming this game has like side missions or side quests or just activities and stuff.
Oh yeah, loads. But they're not like Ubisoft though. They're all quite meaningful with unique locations and unique situations. So it's they're not like Ubisoft, like you do in a checklist. At least I don't think they are. And obviously some missions are more interesting than others for sure. But no, like all of it's like immersive stuff. But yeah, of course our side missions for sure.
So
but go on, continue.
No, I mean that's what I'm saying. Like with open world games, I always tell myself, all right, I am going to just do the main story, and that's what I'm gonna do. And then I always get sidetracked by doing everything else. Maybe it's also a part of me that has been like an achievement completionist for a long time, and usually it's like complete all the side quests and do all this stuff. So I end up always doing everything. But
Did you do that in Elden Ring?
Yeah, I did everything in Elden Ring.
Oh, okay.
So my plan is to do all the side content in Cyberpunk. It was just, it just seemed fitting. I guess you could say it was fitting that I would finally go to play it, and the game basically told me to fuck off. Right? Like, oh, you waited 3 years, you waited for all the updates, you put this game off, and now you want to play us? We're not going to let you. Dude, I sat there, and it happened during a tutorial. I don't know if you remember the part where it's after you pick one of the starting three, like, if you want to be a street kid or corpo or nomad. Which one did you pick, by the way?
Um, my first playthrough, I played as a corpo,
Yeah.
and my current playthrough, which I haven't fully finished yet, I'm playing as a street kid.
Okay.
They it gives you it's similar to Mass Effect. It gives you like some extra dialogue sometimes, and there is a couple of side missions tied to your origin.
Banana Peel
But yeah,
Jack says
it's
Rand clearly selected Corpo. I actually selected Street Kid. So
oh
I was like, I'll pick Street Kid for this. So once you know the part where you do all the stuff in whatever the prologue is, and then it does the smash cut, and it's like you and Jackie working together, doing all this crazy stuff, and then you're in the car, and he's like giving you the little chip, and he's like, you want to do the tutorial or whatever? Well, it doesn't say
yeah.
tutorial, but it's basically a tutorial, and you're like, you could do it or you could skip it. So I was like, all right, I'll do it.
Yes.
That's when I finished the first two tutorials. I went to do the stealth one. When it loaded into it, that's when like the infinite saving icon happened, and then it never loaded the stealth program. So I sat there and I'm like, what's going on?
Oh.
And then that's when I started having all the issues. So yeah, I guess jokes on me. CD Projekt Red's like, we're not letting you play this game, but yeah.
But we got there in the end.
But we got there in the end, and I'm probably going to be playing this for the next month. I don't know.
Yeah,
However
it's a
long it's going to
beefy
take.
game.
Because it's not
Beefy
just the
game.
main game. I'm also Phantom Liberty.
Yeah, the DLC's
So
beefy too.
yeah.
I'm really intrigued. Like, we should do like a spoiler cast Xbox 2 Ultimate maybe of Cyberpunk and talk about decisions. I don't know if people would be interested in that, but yeah, I'm glad you're playing it though. Finally.
Yeah. What about you? I know you're going through your Elden Ring journey. It's something that everybody else in the world went through 2 years ago, but you're going through now.
Yeah, I mean, it's still my save file from 2 years ago. I just killed Rykard today.
Okay.
I'm
He's the big snake, right? If
yeah,
I'm not
big snake
mistaken.
guy.
Okay.
I'm sort of like I'm mopping up.
Dude, wasn't
I'm
that boss?
using
That boss looked crazy, dude.
yeah.
I
Boss
remember it
looks
was just like
amazing.
he's in that like lava pit in the middle,
Lava pit
and
with
he's
just corpses everywhere, and
crazy stuff.
there's arms sticking out of him and snakes and all kinds of weird shit. I've
Dude,
never seen
the
anything
art
like it.
design
It's insane.
in Elden Ring is
It's on another level.
oh my god.
So good, so good. But nah, I struggled with it. I actually like I haven't struggled with any boss in Elden Ring until Rykard. And like I make a point of like the main bosses, I try to do them without summoning.
Okay.
Just because I want to feel the sort of challenge. Like when it's a field boss or just a random dungeon boss, I don't bother. I just sort of blast through them with every tool that I've got just to get through it. When it's like one of the main sort of set piece bosses, like the remembrance bosses, I do it without summon, right? So to sort of, give the game to sort of prolong the game, really. Because if I'm just blasting through everything with the mimic tier, it trivializes a lot of the content. I kind of feel
Dude,
like.
back in the day when Elden Ring first came out, the mimic tier was goated, bro. They had to nerf
Yeah,
that
they've
shit
nerfed
hard.
it. They nerfed it, right?
Yeah.
It's still crazy powerful.
I mean, because it's you, so
it's you, yeah.
like it's crazy.
Yeah,
I don't.
yeah, it's awesome.
I never summoned like actual people when I played through Elden Ring, but me and my mimic tier went through that game. I had a blast, and
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of talk about Erdtree going on. I think they just released a new patch, which nerfed the lightning bottles or the perfume bottles or something. They got perfume bottles in the game now. What's going on?
Yeah, there's this perfume bottle that summoned lightning spam, and people realized you could aim the lightning spam at the ground, and it would do like 10 pulses of damage in one place. So people like one-shotting bosses with this perfume bottle and stuff. But yeah, like Rykard gave me trouble, and I went on Twitter and I was like, man, this guy like took 2 years of my life. I died like 10 times on him, I think. And then everyone was like, oh, what are you talking about? Rykard's like the easiest boss in the game. I'm like, what? So it's funny because like everyone has that sort of one boss that
Yeah.
just seems incompatible with their build. Like, I've been playing a sorcerer up to this point, and
Easy mode.
doing fine with it.
Easy
Yeah,
mode.
whatever,
As as
whatever.
as these Souls veterans say, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say like in Dark Souls 1, so I wouldn't have said sorcery was easy mode. Like using a great shield is easy mode, I think. Like you should see my brother's build for Elden Ring. He's got like a great shield and like a stick, and he just pokes the bosses to death. He doesn't stop blocking. He just keeps poking with the shield up. He can't be hit, and he does shitloads of damage. That's easy mode. But I digress. Because in Rykard you have to use that special weapon, right, which is melee, and I have like no melee stats, so he's doing like no damage, and it had no scaling. I didn't think to upgrade it or anything like that, but I don't know. But I got him down in the end, and that's the main thing. And I didn't summon. But now he's sort of like the last major boss now between me and Millennia. So I just got the last thing to summon Millennia or go to Millennia's bit, the Harley tree. So that's where I'm going to next, and then I suppose I can go and end the game.
Pick one of the endings.
Yeah. I think like when you can pick an ending and then go and do the DLC as
I
long as
don't
you
think
don't
so.
plus. No, I think you can. I don't know. I'll check that.
I
But
I thought I thought beating the game ends the game. Period.
I don't think so. You have to click. You have to click on the. I think you click on. You have to click on the grace to get +1. I think the new game +1. I don't know, but well, I'll double check that before I push it over. But I'm pretty much. I'll do Millennia and then I'll
Okay,
do the
people are
DLC.
saying you can't do an ending. Okay, I'm mistaken. On
Yeah.
that. Because you
just can't +1 it. You just can't
yeah,
plus
because
one
as you know, as you would say, I cheated it because I did the cloud save trick to get all 3 endings.
Yeah, you cheated. You cheated. You have to play.
Yeah.
You have to play through it to get those endings. Probably. I can't. I just can't believe that you would cheat like that.
Yeah, no.
But
Can't believe I would manipulate my cloud saves to pick different different endings. Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, I've really enjoyed Elden Ring. It's easily one of my favorite games of all time. I would say, even though I haven't fully completed it yet, I'm pretty much there. Absolutely loved it. The lore and the
Ooh.
world.
Did you watch
The
any?
the
Did you
lore
watch
is
any
so weird.
lore videos?
I watched a bunch of lore
Yeah.
videos.
Did you?
I still don't have a clue what's going on. But it's like I don't know. Like it's fun to think about. I was watching lore videos on the plane, and I'm reading Berserk. To try and like say like, oh, that's where that inspiration comes from. So try and figure out their thought process for some of this shit. But it's just wild, man. Some of the concepts like
Yeah.
Jungian ego death and all this stuff, and you watch these like video essays where it's like, oh yeah, according to Carl Jung's essay from like 5 decades ago, this was this and this. That means this in Elden Ring, and it's like, Jesus Christ! I just want to kill some cool monsters, man. I didn't realize I was gonna have to become a historian to fucking figure out the game. But I love it though. I love how deep it is, and I love like the sort of it's almost poetic in its delivery, the vagueness of it, and the imagery and the art. Like it's almost like you have to sort of use your imagination a little bit to sort of get the most out of it. I really like that because a lot of games, and there's nothing wrong with games that sort of give it to you in your face, Hollywood style. There's nothing wrong with that.
You want it in your face? Give it to you.
Hawk
Pause.
tour. Oh, I don't know, but yeah, I've loved Elden Ring. It's been really really cool. I'm gonna be sad for it to end, but then
Well, I mean, you
it
still got
won't end
another
'cause I got
50,
the
60
DLC.
hour expansion to play through.
That is true, and I'm scared because everyone talks about how hard it is, and that
Well, you
it's
just
like
gotta go
super brutal.
collect those scatter tree fragments. That,
Shadow Tree,
power you up, yeah.
Yeah, Shadow Tree fragment. It's funny because everyone was trying to figure out how that was pronounced because it's spelled in Old English like SCADU, right? So people call them Scadu tree fragments, and then people joking around call them like Skibbity tree fragments and stuff. But it is actually but it's Old English. It's just pronounced like Shadow Tree, basically Shadow Tree. But yeah, I don't know.
One of the things
Elden
I
Ring's great.
remember most vividly about Elden Ring and why I think there's a good chance it could go down as, game of the generation when you think back about the Xbox Series X and the PS5 gen. Um, although I guess Cyberpunk is Cyberpunk considered last gen or current gen? Probably
It did come out
it
on
did.
the Xbox One and
It
PS4,
yeah, but
but we don't talk about that.
but so did Elden Ring though.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, but I
Oh
guess I was
shit.
going by release dates where I think Cyberpunk came out in December of 2020,
Hmm.
which would have been
I think you can call cross-gen games this gen. Personally,
yeah.
I think you can do
The
that.
thing about
I
Elden
mean,
Ring that made it so special for me, and I've talked about how much I didn't care for Dark Souls or Dark Souls. Like I played through Dark Souls 1 with a buddy and I just didn't like it, but I ended up really liking Bloodborne and I loved Sekiro. The thing about Elden Ring that I found so incredible was the sense of discovery and how the world and the levels kind of interlock together in a way that I don't think any other game really does.
what do you mean by that? Oh, you mean the levels as in the
Like
areas? I thought you meant character levels.
You're exploring the Banished Lands, or I forget the name of it. It's the Banished Lands, right? Or either way,
You mean
whatever
Kalit?
the Living Lands or whatever the hell it's called, right? I haven't played it in 2 years.
Lands Between.
The Lands Between. There we go. Why am I thinking the Banished Lands? Either way, and I remember this. You came up to this one part, and you could see this castle in the distance, and then also to like the left of the castle was this like cliff super high up in the air that you could see something on the top of, right?
Hmm.
And the incredible thing about the game is that remember how Destiny, the first videos you see of Destiny is like, oh, if you can see that mountain, you can go to it, right? But you really couldn't. But in Elden Ring, you actually ended up could, because not only could you go to this huge castle, and this huge castle had a level within it that was so intricately designed, right? But then eventually, that cliff that I had saw earlier in the game, like 40, 50 hours earlier, I actually ended up on top of. And it was actually stuff there as well. And then stuff under the ground. Like the first time when you took the elevator down and you were going down, it was going down for a long time. And then you just see like the stars in the sky. And then you look beneath you and there's like ruins and stuff. And you realize there's this whole other world underground. And you're like, wait a minute, how big is this fucking game?
It's ridiculous.
Like that stuff is unparalleled for it. Like it, you might be able to do that in a linear game where it's okay, linear, you build it out, here are the levels, blah blah blah. But this is an open world game where everything's interconnected and everything's discoverable, and you can go pretty much anywhere if you can see it.
No loading screens.
Loading screens, and I don't think any other game has ever done that or even tried to achievement. And then you add on top of it like the incredible art direction the game has.
The music, the set
and the
pieces.
music, and it's just like, holy shit. Like, how are these the only guys that really make something like this? And then you understand why almost like every game announced these days is a Souls-like, because developers want to make games that they're inspired by and also that sell well because it's a copycat industry. And what's sold better than Elden Ring? Not many games. So they're like, let's make our own, but it's never as good
they
as...
all love it too.
I know,
like you said,
right?
They're inspired by it. They love it. It's just special.
And it's like the antithesis of the Ubisoft open world design, where everything's labeled on the map, where you have the heads up display, and you have all these different markers where you can go do, and nothing's really discovered by you. It's just another point here to go do, another thing to check off the list and do all these sort of things. And maybe it's because open world design, even from the Ubisofts to the Sonys, the PlayStation, they all follow that similar mantra. And it all feels samey to a certain extent. It's just a matter of how well your cutscenes are, or maybe how well your story is, or how good the world looks. And when you finally get something that bucks the trend and goes about it their own way and does it better than everybody else, it's that much more impressive to see, right?
Yeah, it just feels handcrafted. You know, it feels like you can feel the human element in the game, where I think like when you rely too much on UI and systems and and that kind of stuff, it kind of detracts from the experience and pulls you out of it, I think. Whereas like
Yeah.
Elden Ring also has like this automatic UI which just disappears if you're not using it for anything. Like you're constantly in the game, you're constantly doing something. You very rarely lose control of your character. And also like the multiplayer features are really good too. Like just, can just randomly decide, you know what, I fancy killing another player. I'm just gonna load into someone else's save and fuck up their life. Stuff like that. I've had hilarious experiences just jumping into someone's game and just ganking them and stuff. It's just there's nothing like it, man. And I don't know. Just the leading with creativity rather than a sort of factory like checklist of things that a publisher thinks should be in a game is what Elden Ring represents. I think CD Projekt Red approaches that too, and you can see it in their sort of in their treatment of the side quests. Like because the Witcher and Cyberpunk side quests, like they're very handcrafted too,
Yeah.
and you can sort of feel like they're like, is this actually? We need side quests in the game, but are they actually fun? Whereas like other games would be like, oh, we need side quests in the game because we need to keep people playing for longer.
We need to keep people playing. We need to increase the time in the game, and a lot of side quests in most games are fetch quests, really. Oh, I need 3 hamburgers. Can you go get me 3 hamburgers? And you go get 3 hamburgers, and you get ambushed, and you kill some people, and you pick the 3 hamburgers up, and you bring them back, and there's really nothing to it.
The ultimate game for that was, for me, Dragon Age Inquisition. I really, really like Dragon Age Inquisition overall, but my god, its side quests were just the most pointless, shallow, obvious kind of like, we need side quests in this game for the sake of it.
You know what that recent one that was for me?
What's that?
Final Fantasy 16.
Oh.
Final Fantasy 16 is this weird dichotomy between the highest of highs when it comes to the main missions and the boss fights, which are literally insane, and these know-nothing side quests that are so trivial and so stupid you have to wonder why Clive would even want to do them. Now, I think they've streamlined them in updates where now once you finish a side quest, it'll ask you to like fast travel to where you can complete it right away, which wasn't there before. So like there's a lot of these side quests, especially side quests within the same area, where like you talk to somebody and then you got to go talk to somebody else. So you run over there to go talk to this person, and then you listen to what they have to say, and they want you to go talk to somebody else. And so you go, oh, run over here and go talk to this person. And you talk to them, and then you got to go back to the first person. And it's just like, what? That's so stupid.
Yeah.
Like all the important side quests, the ones that actually have meaningful dialogue and meaningful things that happen, are at the end of the game, like the very end of the game, when you might kind of be starting to get burnt out on the whole game in itself, because Final Fantasy 16 is not a short game by any stretch of the imagination. So it's like, all right, all these side quests have kind of just been utterly filler for the entire game, and the most important ones happen at the very end when you might just be I think it was when you got to like the final main mission, right when that starts, I think like 20 side quests pop up. Because usually how it goes is you'll play and you'll do a main mission, and then some side quests will happen. And I would finish those side quests before I would go to the main stuff, because I only want to keep my level up, blah, 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 right? So I was doing all the side quests as they're delivered, and I would imagine if like you weren't doing that, you'd have all these things, but I'd have them all cleared, and then you'd release. I get to the final main mission, and then it was like all of a sudden it was like 20 side quests, and I'd be like, like I just wanted to finish the game, but now there's 20 side quests I have to do here, and you know, it was one of those things where I'd start doing them, and then my mind would wander because it's like, oh, it's just side quests, and I'd think, wait a minute, this is actually interesting. So they saved all like the cool stuff, or at least the important side quests, for the very end, and all the stuff in the beginning was just busy work, you know.
Mm.
So yeah, you know, I say that to say it's just like side quests can be, they can be important, man, because it, you know, you don't want people to get burnt out on your game if they're doing all that stuff and they kind of don't want to do them anymore. I don't know. It needs to feel like something truly important's going on. I mean, not as important as the main story, because I always do feel it's funny. It's like, oh, the world's about to end. Hold on, let me go collect some shells
Yes.
for this dude over here real quick. Right?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, yeah. The whole concept of like doing side quests while the world's about to end.
Yeah.
Like Mass Effect 3 kind of felt like that sometimes to me. Whereas like, oh, the world's ending, but like, let's just go off on this little
Guess
side
what,
adventure.
guys? The Reapers are destroying every single human civilization. Let me go scan some planets for a bit. Let me go do some of these things. It doesn't fit in with the narrative structure of, you know,
Yeah.
of the game, because of course Shepard wouldn't do that, but you know,
See,
it is what it is.
This is like a huge pet peeve of mine when like games have features that don't fit the narrative structure or whatever. Like in Elden Ring, like everything in the game has at least some kind of lore explanation. Like even like the stuff like invading players, like you invade NPCs sometimes in the game. And you know, the whole, you know, the bloody fingers thing has some kind of explanation to it, you know. I love that. I love that so much, and so few developers seem to do it. And it makes such a big difference to the sense of like immersion and feeling like um the the game world's like alive and that you're in it, and it's not just like some kind of product that you're playing, you know. I think that's really what Elden Ring delivers, and a few other devs do it as well, but not many. um I think one dev that kind of does it quite well. It's often Japanese devs that do this, I kind of feel like. Monster Hunter does it to some degree. Like the Hideo Kojima games do it, where like every sort of tool you use in the game for a gameplay reason is also an object in the game. Like even Resident Evil, you know, like with the typewriters to save the game, right? Um, yeah, I don't know. I love that kind of stuff. I wish more developers would do it, but it's time consuming. And if you're a publisher and you know you're trying to work your staff to death for you know your shareholders, it can impact things. But I suppose when you know when you've got the political clout of Miyazaki and stuff, where it can be like, look how much I can sell if you let me do my thing. And the publisher's just like, oh, yeah, we'll just let him do his thing, you know. Konami, they had that with Kojima, and they threw it away. They threw it away, bro.
Yeah, they sure did, didn't they? They sure
They
did.
did, yeah. Did you see this week? The Metal Gear. Now, I'm sure this wasn't an
A
authorized comment
Konami
by
producer
Konami.
wanted like Kojima back, right?
Yeah, Konami
Yeah.
producer said he said something to the effect of, um, like his dream. I'm paraphrasing, and I think it was translated from Japanese. But he said something like his dream would be for Kojima to come back to Metal Gear someday.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I have to sit there thinking like, did the Konami execs approve this comment? Because they did not part on good terms.
No, they sure didn't. I just remember
Oh, man.
Remember when that stuff was going down, and Jeff Keighley was basically
Really went
crying.
to bat for him, yeah.
He was like crying about it on stage with Kojima and stuff. Like, look, I'm a fan of
Mm.
Kojima's. I can't wait to play Death Stranding 2 and OD, whatever OD ends up being.
Walking sim, you'll love it. It's gonna be
A
a walking
walking
sim.
sim on a phone, I doubt it very much.
No, it's gonna be a walking sim on VR headset,
Not a VR headset, yes. Doesn't
Xbox
matter.
VR.
Kojima. But anyways, I'm gonna get to some of these super chats. We have has no pants with the 199 topic suggestion. Falcom games on Xbox ever? Question mark.
Now, what are Falcom made?
I
Do
was
they
gonna
make
ask you the same thing.
The
Falcom
Wise
games.
games?
What are the Falcom?
YS.
Yeah, maybe those are the ones.
My brother would know.
My history
I'm pretty sure they're JRPGs, right?
or my knowledge of the
Um,
Falcom games is extremely limited. So I really let me Google that really quickly, shall I? Let me Google
yeah.
Falcom games. Let's see,
I'm pretty sure they are JRPGs.
Falcom games. Falcom games. Yeah, Legend of Heroes. Yeah, the Y series. Yeah.
Wise. I
Yeah.
don't know how to say that. Is it Wise?
I don't know
I
either.
suppose it is, right?
So
Um,
maybe they come. I don't know. I have no idea. Not really sure. I would guess maybe probably never. I don't know. Silas with the 5. He says,
I mean,
Jez.
they got Persona eventually, but
Yeah,
like
but Persona was.
Microsoft would have to make some kind of concerted effort for
Yeah.
that. We'll see. I think we could see them eventually. But
Silas
we'll have
says,
to wait.
Jez, with Tim Geddes a kind of funny streaming his wedding on Twitch and getting Nvidia to sponsor it, has it inspired you to stream your wedding? A Blizzard sponsorship, perhaps?
One of the reasons, like, me and my girlfriend talks about weddings and shit. One of the reasons we talk about like not doing it is because we don't want to be the center of attention, and for the family and stuff. So like live streaming it would be the opposite of not being the center of attention, I would have thought. But I didn't know he got Nvidia to sponsor his wedding. That is hilarious
Yeah,
and genius.
he streamed it on Twitch.
That is amazing. Fair play to him.
I mean, you should think about that, bro.
Nah.
Yeah.
No, that's weird.
We got Dave Ramos with the 10. Express Tribune is citing leaker Ecstasis, who shared that titles on Xbox in Japan are showing the tagline "Played with GeForce Now." I wasn't able to find the source tweet. Have you heard anything, Jez?
This is interesting. I mean, I did see that. I did see that Ecstasis thing with the Nvidia GeForce Now button. I couldn't reproduce it myself, and it's not hard to fake something like that. You just go into the source code and edit the button. I thought it was weird because it's like, why would it show play on Nvidia GeForce Now is the green button before Microsoft's own products? That kind of made me confused, like what the context is of that. I'm not saying it was faked, but I just thought like maybe this is just some kind of weird test that went out too early, or wasn't supposed to be seen by the public. Clearly something's cooking. And I wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft does partner up with Nvidia, because one of the issues with cloud gaming right now is that it's fucking expensive to run. It's really, really expensive to run. So like, if you're Microsoft and you kind of think you've already got a partnership with Nvidia anyway, because Microsoft has a partnership with Nvidia for PC Game Pass. Like if you've got GeForce Now, you can play your PC Game Pass games through GeForce Now. So they've already got sort of partnership with them. And also Microsoft, is a prolific purchaser of Nvidia GPUs for AI. So it wouldn't be outside the realm of, possibilities that they would do some kind of partnership directly. But my issue is with this whole sort of discussion is that the Mike's like people were thinking like it's going to be Xbox games, that you can play on GeForce Now, but Microsoft doesn't have the licenses to do that, you know. So I would be like, I'm confused about what this could actually end up representing down the line. But I suppose, we'll find out.
Yeah, I don't know. That whole like Nvidia thing within like the Xbox like dashboard or whatever, when you like look up the game and it says, "Oh, play it with Nvidia GeForce." It's kind of weird considering like Microsoft has xCloud. So it's like, why would they?
Yeah.
Why would they want you to play it on Nvidia? Unless like Nvidia was going to have an option where it was like, play it with xCloud on their end, right?
Well, well, that's the thing, you see, because I don't know if Microsoft would want that, because one of the issues they've got right now is capacity. So, like, spreading the games out to Nvidia's cloud, that kind of helps Microsoft because it means that there's more people playing their games and there's less people using up all their servers. So for them, it's like a win, even if like Nvidia gets more people into their servers. But the thing about Nvidia is you have to remember they don't really sell games. What GeForce Now is, it's just a service that lets you play the games you already own. So it's a bit different to what Microsoft offering. It doesn't compete directly with either Xbox or Game Pass necessarily. Potentially it complements Game Pass because it's like, well, I can play my Game Pass games by Nvidia servers, which might be better in your region and also save Microsoft money. It's a weird business because right now it's expensive, and I think that the whole thought process with cloud gaming right now is one day it won't be as expensive as this, but we need to establish ourselves today, even if it costs a lot of money. So like with cloud, it's like an investment for the future. It's the same with Spotify. Spotify's never. So I think Spotify's had like 2 or 3 profitable quarters in their 13-year history. And the idea behind Spotify is that one day it will be profitable. One day.
One day
Because
we'll make
like
money.
yeah, because either like server costs will come down exponentially, and it'll just be like a trivial. It'll be trivial to stream billions of songs across the internet, or something will happen that'll make Spotify profitable. That's the that's the belief from
I mean,
Spotify.
it took Netflix forever to become profitable. I mean, they were losing money all the time, but I mean,
Exactly. Yeah. So this is cloud games the same. It's like one day it'd be profitable. Maybe Microsoft's thinking, yeah, maybe it'd be profitable if we let Nvidia run the back end, which is very expensive. Because Nvidia's serious about that shit.
right?
But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm
Yeah,
quite intrigued by it all.
cloud gaming, interesting future. Do you remember when? Remember when? It, I know this is like last year, but I also totally always forget that Microsoft had to sell the cloud streaming rights of the ABK games for like the
Oh
next
man,
15 years, right? Something wasn't that some of the
I can't remember. It's a long time, but it's horrible
they
because
had the
Diablo.
deal with the EU, and then like Microsoft was making these deals with Nvidia and Boosteroid and these cloud gaming companies nobody's ever heard of, and then the UK, God, I forget.
CMA.
The CMA was like, we're blocking the whole deal on the basis of cloud, and everybody was like shocked. We were all like, right?
Yeah.
And then they worked through it, and they basically was like, no, we'll sell the cloud streaming rights to Ubisoft. And the thing is, we haven't heard anything about that, right? We know that Ubisoft holds the cloud streaming rights to, the upcoming Call of Duty games and all the stuff that they make. But have we heard anything about what Ubisoft plans to do with said games? Like, Call of Duty is coming to Game Pass. Black Ops 6 is coming to Game Pass in October, the end of October. And it's going to be on Xbox, it's going to be on PlayStation, it's going to be in Game Pass, it's going to be on PC, on Steam, on Battle.net. But we still don't have any idea of what Ubisoft plans are, right? I know people assume that you'll be able to stream that game like on xCloud, or if Ubisoft licensed it out to different people or different companies, right?
Well, Ubisoft's going to try and shop it around. And I suppose like Microsoft's like, can we please stream our own game on xCloud? And Ubisoft's like, yeah, maybe. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, Microsoft. Because it is utter bullshit that I can't play Diablo on xCloud right now. It's wild. And one of the things Microsoft is doing in the next few months, probably by Christmas at the latest, I think, is you're going to be able to play your own games, hundreds of your own games on xCloud. You won't have to.
Hundreds. Should be thousands.
Yeah, well, I don't know how many it's going to be, but I know some publishers have opted out, so it won't be all of your games.
Why
but
would they have
like,
opted out?
Because maybe they want to shop around their stuff too. Maybe maybe a company wants to offer them exclusivity deal on it, and maybe they think they can get a better deal or something, and they're just like, yeah, we don't want to, we don't want to give you this product at the moment, Microsoft. We want to see where it'll all go. So like some publishers are opting out of letting you stream your games on xCloud, even if you own them. But I think like once people get a taste of it, they'll probably put the pressure on, right? But anyway, I digress. There is like that is sort of like what you can expect in the near future. But then it's like, does that mean I'll be able to stream my copy of Diablo on xCloud, or is Ubisoft, precluded me from that right as well? That'd be such a weird world where like it's up to Ubisoft whether I get to play my own fucking game on a service that I pay for. And that's the genius of the UK's regulator at work there, But who knows what happened? It's on Microsoft to sort that out. At the end of the day, that's what Microsoft opted into.
Yeah.
And we suffer as a result.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Hey, for everybody watching, make sure you hit the like button, please. Helps out the show tremendously, and it's super free and easy to do. Just click the like button and share this out. Let everybody know we're live. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, just go ahead and do so. Click that button too. It's free as well. Just do a little double click. Like just imagine you're Jez playing Diablo and you're just clicking, click. Like just click the subscribe button, click the like button, please. It helps out tremendously.
I haven't enjoyed this Diablo season that much. I don't know. Diablo season 4, yeah. Diablo needs work, man. Like they've put so much emphasis on Helltides that it's just like all you do now is just do the same activity over and over and over and over and over, and it's boring, man. It's boring.
Here's the thing.
There needs to be more variety in the end game.
I played Diablo 4. I did the story. And let me tell you, by the end of the game, I was pretty bored with it because it is the same thing from the start to the end. And I don't know, that the whole looter, I know it's not a looter shooter, but it's a looter clicker, I guess. That whole gameplay loop that a lot of people seem to love, the Destiny, now the First Descendant or whatever free-to-play game that just came out, where it's all about playing it and then getting new loot to make your character more powerful, which is kind of Diablo in a sense, right? I mean, that's what people do. I just don't care for that loop whatsoever. It doesn't do anything for me. Like, it's
fair.
It's fine when you're constantly getting new stuff, better stuff all the time, right? When it's like you kill a bunch of mobs and there's something there that you can use. Because you get that dopamine hit. And it's like, oh, okay, I got a staff that does more damage. Let me grab it. But every single one of these games eventually runs into it where you play for like an hour or two and you don't get nothing. And at that point, I always say to myself, what am I doing? Why am And it's like, okay, yeah, the story is interesting enough, so that's why I'm here. But the gameplay is about as basic as you can possibly get. So like the idea of like, let me just keep on doing this at the hope of getting something that I eventually can use really starts to wear thin after a while. And until eventually you don't really get anything and you're kind of at where you're at. And now it's like, well, you completed the game, adventurer. Do you want better gear? Well, move it up a different difficulty. And guess what? Now you get 50% more gold and 50% more experience to level up. And you'll get better chances at all this other loot. And it's like, to do what? Complete the same stuff I've completed at a harder difficulty so I can get better gear, so I can do harder stuff. Man, that whole loop, the whole loop for these games just does not do anything for me.
Well, this is the thing, right? You have to suspend your disbelief. You have to sort of try and force yourself to forget that. And like it happens to me in World of Warcraft, where it's like, like, because your gear basically resets every season. It's like, okay, your gear was powerful for this season, and now it's no longer powerful. You've got to get new gear, right? For the new boss. But at least in World of Warcraft, you get like permanent cosmetic stuff, which sort of feeds that FOMO element, right? Yeah, it's like, oh well, this.
You know how
this
much
season...
I care about cosmetic. Hey, you didn't ask me. You didn't ask me what my Cyberpunk character looked like.
What does it look like?
The default character.
I'm shocked.
I didn't make any changes to him. And you know what? I even was thinking, and I know this is kind of a side real quick to Cyberpunk, but I was like, and maybe chat can tell me here. I don't have any issues playing as a chick. For me, it's all about who gives the better performance in Cyberpunk. Is it the male V or is it the female V? As I'm very because I think the
better performance.
But better performance, you mean the voice acting, the voice performance. Who does a better job? Because that's the character I want to pick. And I did the intro with the male V, and I was like, okay. And I sort of almost want to start a new game, pick a different thing, and choose female V just to see within that hour which character I vibe with more and which character has a better performance. So that's why I'm wondering, because we have people in chat. We got RJ says the female, Coco says male V, Keto says male V, 14 says female, Corey says the female, Cameron says male V. That's kind of, I don't know. I just remember thinking back to Assassin's Creed Odyssey, right? And Cassandra was just infinitely better than, God, I can't even remember the male character's name at this point. Where
Boris.
It was like, what was the male's character in Assassin's Creed Odyssey? It wasn't Boris.
Boris.
It was like someone with
Boris,
an A.
the ninja. Alan.
It wasn't Alan either. But I just know when in the times you do
Alan.
It's like Alexius, right? Or Alexos or something. I think it was like Alexos.
Oh, it was Alexa.
I just remember the times when I was playing as Cassandra, when Alexos would show up, and I was like, oh, I am so glad I didn't pick this guy because he sounds awful. Whereas Cassandra gave everything the perfect pitch, the right emotion. Where Alexios was kind of like trying...
You're bullying the voice actor, man.
No, I'm just saying, for me, that matters. So the choice of male V or female V, I'm just wondering which one I will get more of, which one will give the better performance, which one, is in the same regard of Cassandra and Alexos, because clearly Cassandra was far superior than Alexos. And I want to make the right choice here.
I don't think his name was Alexos,
It is Alexios.
I think it was... Is it? I don't know.
So, should I guess I'll ask Chad again. Should I replay the beginning of Cyberpunk?
Do you not like the male V?
The male V sounds like he's trying too hard to be like a tough guy.
Hmm.
I don't
I
know.
thought that's just how Americans sound.
Oh, this. I don't know. Either way, I'll, I'll, I'll see what I'll do. Maybe I'll replay the beginning, pick Corpo or something, or Nomad, and see what the female V's like, and then have to choose: do I want female V or I want male V? So Webb says that's because he is a tough guy. I know, but he sounds like someone who isn't a tough guy, but is trying to put on a performance of being a tough guy. Not that he actually is a tough guy. So we'll see. What were we talking about?
We were talking about Diablo.
Oh, Diablo.
And the philosophy
Yes.
of whether or not it's sort of like fun to do that shit. And like when I'm playing World of Warcraft, I do get those feelings of like this is pointless, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I do get those feelings. But at least in that game there's an element of FOMO because you do get permanent cosmetics, but in Diablo all the permanent seasonal cosmetics are terrible. You know, the battle pass cosmetics, they're all terrible. I haven't seen a single thing I've ever wanted from a Diablo battle pass ever, which is pretty bad for one thing. But then like you extrapolate that even further and it's like there's no real reward for killing bosses except numbers. Like in World of Warcraft, at least you get cool looking armor sets which are seasonal for killing certain bosses and stuff. But in Diablo, it's just like, oh yeah, you get Shaco again, and now it's like, you know, or what is it called, the Harlequin hat or whatever it's called, I can't remember. You get that again, but with different numbers on it. It's like, so all you're doing is grinding numbers. Now some people love that, they love it, and that's great. But I need something a little bit more. But I can completely see where you're coming from. That it's not for you. It's not for everyone. It's really not. It's like it's nice. Those games are nice for turning my brain off, but it doesn't feel like it feels like dessert. Whereas like a game like Elden Ring is like the main course.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
like
A game like
Cyberpunk
Elden
is
Ring is the appetizers, the main course, and the dessert. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
well, yeah. Okay, then like World of Warcraft and Diablo are more like junk food, like a nice McDonald's, you know,
Yeah.
and a beer.
We have a super chat here from Hey Blinken with the 5. Rand, I'm with you. I also play Inverted. Yes, there's dozens of us. Dozens. I actually got quite a few messages about the whole Inverted thing. People telling me why they started to play Inverted.
So did I. Yeah.
And people were like, hey, was it because of this or this or this? I honestly don't remember. I couldn't tell you why I play Inverted.
Yeah, you don't remember because you had a fucking concussion.
When I was like in first grade.
Concussion.
First grade? What do you mean?
Yeah, you had a concussion, bro. And that's why you play Inverted. You dropped on your head as a child.
See, he says for him, it started with GoldenEye 007, which was inverted by default, and my first shooter on console. And I have played GoldenEye, so it could be GoldenEye. I mean, that is an interesting observation. I did play GoldenEye with my friends.
GoldenEye was inverted by default.
He might be right, and I do remember playing the GoldenEye single player quite a bit. So I wonder if that's why I would go over to my friend's house and I would, plug in the 64 and we would play WCW versus NWO Revenge, right? But there were times where it was like I'd be alone or whatever, and I would play GoldenEye and I would play that intro level and the levels beyond, and I sort of wonder if that's a good shout, Blinken. Maybe that's why I play Inverted, is because I played so much GoldenEye back in the day. So then when I eventually went to Halo and other first-person shooters, that it felt wrong.
Mm.
Interesting.
Yeah, maybe.
Game Geek with the 2. He says, of Activision games on Game Pass next month, I heard. ? Okay, well, that's a good segue, I suppose. Shall we, Jez, talk about Xbox ABK Game Pass drops soon.
Yeah. This is
Xtasius.
Ecstasis.
Yes, he dropped a forum post. I don't even think it was an article on Xputer, but a forum post talking
forum
about
post.
a forum post. I don't know if that's easier to say. Well, it's not an article; it's just a forum post. You know, because you always say if it's not on Windows Central, what does it mean?
Well, maybe he wants to drive some traffic to his
Maybe
forum.
it's possible, but you always say if it's not on Windows Central, you know, it's just
it's just speculation or drunk tweeting.
Or even though you have been tweeting, you know, you very much have been like they're maybe coming earlier. You know, you've been doing
being the operative word.
You've been doing leaking and teasing and stuff, bro.
Yeah, well, teasing's not a report.
Yeah,
it's just.
But anyways, he basically said that, you know, because everyone has been wondering, hey, you acquired these Activision Blizzard, where are the games on Game Pass? And we all thought they would maybe start doing it at E3 or Summer Games Fest. They'll call it E3 at Summer Games Fest, the showcase, and they didn't. No word about it. And it's been almost a month since, and still no word about it. The only game from ABK that's dropped is Diablo 4, which they said did incredibly well. It's like biggest launch ever for a game, or whatever their results were. They said about that, and we know that Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is coming at the end of October. First Call of Duty game in there, day and date. So that's exciting. But everybody else wants to know about the catalog, and there's a catalog. You got the Crash games. Not only do you have the Crash Insane Trilogy, but you got Crash 4. You have Crash Team Racing. You have like Spyro. You have all the Call of Duty games. You have like Sekiro. You have like any of the back compat stuff that may or may not happen. Or the ones that already are on back compat, but then maybe there's going to be doing more. Like a lot of question marks regarding what their plans are for it. And he came out and said that Crash Insane Trilogy is coming in August.
He did.
Which you backed up in your own reporting, yes?
Yeah, Samuel Talbot wrote it.
Oh, Samuel Talbot wrote it, okay.
Yeah, but it was like Windows Central sources, you know, corroborated Ecstasis' report.
Well, but only his report about Crash.
Yes.
Because he did say something about Tony Hawk coming as well.
Yeah, I don't know about Tony Hawk, but I did hear Crash for August. So that seems to be the plan right now. But I've also heard that there might be stuff, other stuff, sooner than that, maybe. But maybe. I know that Microsoft's really cognizant of cannibalization at the moment. Because, you know, a lot of people have been saying, like, Microsoft should just drop them all at once.
Yes.
Just screw it.
They did that with Bethesda. They did it with Bethesda. You know, all the Dishonored games, the Doom games, all that stuff, the Fallout games, all there when they did the round table, which, remember when we were thinking, oh, they'll do a round table with Activision? Never did that. Right? They didn't do no round table with Activision. But they did one with Bethesda, and they announced, like, hey, all these games are on Game Pass now. And that's what everybody sort of thought they would do with the ABK, and they didn't. And it's taken a lot longer than I think any of us predicted or had guessed that they would start doing this stuff. And it makes you wonder, why? What? What are the reasoning? Is it because they're trying to get PC ports up and running? We do know there is unlisted PC ports for Crash and for Spyro that are just sitting there in the Microsoft store, but you can't buy them. They're just there, probably in preparation for this. So is it because they need to do that for the Microsoft store? Are they worried about cannibalization? Because I think as we've always mentioned, Game Pass is a very curated library of games. And if you just dump a whole bunch of Call of Duty in there, how does that affect player engagement in other games? And Because a lot of these games have
Mhm.
like targets they need to hit, or not necessarily need to hit, but can hit for extra bonuses. Playtime, downloads, and stuff. But if you drop a few COD games in there, it might be tough for those games to hit those milestones essentially. So we were all wondering, like, yeah, what's the deal? But it seems like it's starting to drip feed, right?
Yeah, I mean, they did drop, to your point, they did drop all the Bethesda stuff all at once,
Mm-hmm.
but Game Pass is also still quite a new service,
Mm-hmm.
so maybe they reflected on the data they acquired from doing that and thought, oh, actually, this was not a good idea. This is not a good way for us to have done this. So when we do ABK, let's, do it a different way and try and drip feed it a bit, not cannibalize our, um, not cannibalize our, partners games, because there's a lot of games from partners coming out this month. You mentioned Neon White, but there's also Kinitsugami from
Yes. Flintlock,
uh
Siege of Dawn,
Flintlock, which I think needs
Dungeons
all
of
the help it can
Hinterberg.
get, probably.
So, because
Dungeons
Microsoft
of Hinterberg.
announced the first wave, because Microsoft they do these Game Pass announcements in twice a month now. So this past Tuesday they did it for the first 2 weeks of July, and on the 16th presumably they'll announce the games for the back half of July. And we know we're getting like Neon White next week, as well as I don't even know how to. It's like, is it Chai
I know what you mean.
TCH? It's a game that was on PlayStation. It actually came to PlayStation Plus day one over there, coming to Xbox.
Right.
Um, and then yeah, like you said, Kunitsugami is coming on the 18th, same day as I believe Flintlock is, as well. I think like Dungeons of Hinterberg is like 2 days before that. So there's some big AA games. I would say Flintlock and Kunitsugami are bigger AA games. Would you agree with that? Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I think so. But it's exactly the sort of game you wouldn't want to risk being cannibalized by, a potentially big game that you could drop into Xbox Game Pass. But like maybe they'll just decide there's not a lot of overlap here, or or it's maybe there's some concession that they'll do or something for the developers potentially affected. I don't know, but I do think like there's this sort of mentality that we need to not cannibalize things, but also at the same time, there's certain ABK games you could put in the service that could potentially grow the service, and appeal to new audiences and stuff. And, I suppose like um the way that Diablo went down really well with Game Pass. It's now the number one vehicle for Diablo at the moment, which goes to show like how Game Pass can give a multiplayer game specifically a free to play like level of accessibility, because like free to play games, the whole reason they're free is because it makes it easy to try out and get into and thus get addicted to. That's why games like the First Descendant, which came out this week, really blew up. The barrier to entry is non-existent. It's bloody free. There's no downside to trying it out. No downside whatsoever. So but if Diablo is quite expensive to buy new, so it's like one way you can eliminate that risk is to just get in Game Pass, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like there's other games that you could potentially include in Game Pass that could have that kind of effect. I've also one thing, I don't think this will ever happen, but one thing I get constantly asked is, would World of Warcraft come to Game Pass? I don't think it would, because I think World of Warcraft has a very, very specific business model. But like, I have to wonder, like, if World of Warcraft was in Game Pass, with an established audience of 35 million people or 30 million or wherever it is, I can't remember off the top of my head. That could really boost World of Warcraft's numbers, I think, because all those players will have access to it for the first time. And similarly, on the other side, it could like boost Game Pass because could be like, well, World of Warcraft players might check out Game Pass and stuff. Um, especially times like now where there's nothing to do in WoW because
Hmm.
we're sort of mid after the season's ended. But I don't know, going off topic slightly here. But yeah, the games do seem to be Microsoft does seem to have a plan in place now for the way the rollout looks like, you know, and I think we'll start seeing more of what that looks like probably sooner than August, maybe, but
Hmm.
don't know for sure. We'll see.
Yep. Um, someone's telling me that Spyro Trilogy, Tony Hawk, and Crash Trilogy on the Microsoft Store, you can actually buy those. I was on the assumption that they were just there, but you weren't able to do anything with them. So I guess
Right.
that's a correction. I'm not sure either way, but my buddy's telling me that no, you can actually buy them there. They're like $40 or something. So all right, that's good to know. But those would be
That's
like
cool.
if they ever do when they do add Crash Trilogy. I'm sure you'll be able to, play. It'd be like play anywhere, like you can play the PC version, you can play the, the console version. You can, well, no, you wouldn't be able to stream them. So, but there's that.
Thanks, Ubisoft.
Yeah. I'll make a prediction, Jazz. Shall I?
Yeah, go on, make a prediction,
I
Ryan.
think you'll get I think you'll get a ABK game before Crash.
Oh,
I think you'll get.
any predictions on what?
I think you'll get an ABK game this month.
Oh,
At the end of this month.
yeah, but you need to tell us what. Okay.
I'll just say I'll go with Call of Duty.
Call of
Call
Duty,
of
like a
Duty,
classic Call of Duty.
like I'll go with the most recent one. I'll go Call of Duty 2023. That's my prediction.
Call of Duty. Your prediction is that Call of Duty 2023 would come in July. It's a bold
Yes.
prediction, man.
Well, I
It's
mean,
a
you've been
bold
saying
prediction.
that you might get stuff sooner. I'm just gonna predict something off of your teasing. So I'll just say you'll get an ABK game before Crash. Crash is in August, at least according to XB2 and Jez. I'll say you get one before then, and you'll get a Call of Duty game. There you go.
Interesting.
That's my prediction.
Interesting. It's an interesting prediction.
Mm. But I guess there's also something else tied to the ABK thing. Transformers. I've been seeing a lot of this. People have been asking me about it. I'm sure you've gotten questions about it. People have been like, "Hey, are the Transformers games coming back?" I want to say I saw some tweets about it. Like they're relisted on the store. What's the word on this, Jazz?
I haven't got a clue. I haven't got a damn clue about anything to do with that, to be honest. So if they are listed back on the store, that's kind of news. That's news to me, to be honest. But I think Microsoft is very cognizant of the fact that Transformers is a huge franchise, and those games were pretty damn good, and they were pretty popular, and people often ask me about that. Will those Transformers games come back? Hasbro themselves said they were interested in doing it. So, you've got a recipe there for a definitive maybe, you know. So I want to believe it, but I honestly can't say I've heard anything either way about that one. So I'm gonna put my mark on that as saying I don't know. The only thing I
I
know
would like
about
for it to be
is
true.
Crash right now.
The thing is, I'm not sure they were ever really removed. I know they were delisted, but if you own those games, you've always been able to re-download them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they like pop back up, but I would like to think that Microsoft would have went back and gotten the licenses for those, so that whenever they, the ABK games really do start to come, that they can add these Transformers, because there's a lot of Transformers games they can drop from the 360 back and pat stuff, or even just like the Xbox One point. You can have Transformers War for Cybertron, you can have Transformers Devastation, Transformers Dark Spark, Rise of the Dark Spark, which was, I think, a pretty bad game if my memory serves me. But I mean, there's some cool games that you can add there. I don't know. The thing is, I sort of wonder if they would do that because of the licensing. I don't know how much Hasbro would want. for those games, but it would definitely be a nice, fan service to anybody who's like, oh, by the way, like you have these games, you have all the COD stuff, and here's some other ones. Oh, look, the Transformers games are back, and things like that, right? I think that would be
Yeah.
cool. But yeah, I don't know if that's gonna happen. I would like it to, like I said, because I know a lot of times people look at licensed games and they're like, it's not good. But did you ever play Transformers War for Cybertron? Because it's actually a really good game. That was one of the reasons why High Moon Studios being relegated to just working on COD and working on COD even in a way where they don't even get to make their own game. Like the games are made by Treyarch, Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer with Raven doing Warzone. I sort of miss when High Moon could do their own things, or when Beanox was able to do their own things, and before they were all put into the Call of Duty,
Machine.
grindhouse essentially.
Yeah, I never played them myself, but my brother did, I think, and I was sort of aware of. Like, I remember thinking, "Oh, this looks really good." I never played them myself though, so like, yeah, I'm aware that they're popular and stuff. But I think like if I would love to see that
I
franchise
think I
return.
think
I think
Transformers Devastation was even made by Platinum Games.
yeah, I did not hear good things about that one.
Yeah, I don't know if that one reviewed very well, but even still,
Yeah, but the High Moon ones did,
the High Moon ones were
and
good.
I think like if you're Microsoft and you sort of you realize that there's a demand for licensed anything right now, whether it's Fortnite skins or crossovers in you Call of Duty or whatever. There's like this kind of low hanging fruit. You've already got studios that have worked on the franchise before. You've got Hasbro that has just had Baldur's Gate blow up like crazy, and they're probably thinking, "Oh God, we can actually make money with this video game stuff," you know. And like Hasbro would probably gag at the idea of doing some, licensed Xboxy Transformers stuff. And it would be, we've also got evidence from Fallout of how like a video game and TV adaptations can sort of complement each other and just make a shitload of money. So for Transformers fans, I want to believe that Microsoft would like think that's probably a good idea, you know. But when it comes to licensed content, there's always all these sort of layers of complexity. So you can never just sort of say, "Oh yeah, that's definitely going to happen," because there's just so many moving parts in whether or not that actually comes to fruition or not. But it's one reason I put an article up today, Rand.
Mm.
I put an article up today saying that Microsoft should revive its user voice website for Xbox. I think not a lot of people read it, but
User voice
this is the
website. I'm trying to
yes.
think. Yeah, I remember that one. I remember it. Okay.
Yeah, so the user voice website was, for those who don't know, it's basically a service which lets customers give companies feedback. And Microsoft used it prolifically during the initial backwards compatibility push to ask people what games they wanted to see, in the service. And it was great. But not only was it like about, backwards compatible games, it was also about basically every sort of feature request you can imagine. There was categories for everything, and loads of cool features did arrive on the platform that were initially described on the user voice, but eventually they did away with it. And I think part of it was like a lot of development budget went towards things like xCloud, and I think like I even wrote in the article that I doubt Microsoft would actually have the bandwidth to sort of handle a lot of these potential requests right now, because like I know how much work has to go into integrating ABK's systems into Game Pass and stuff like that. I know how much work is going into that and how many developers. And also, it sounds like they might be building like basically a new operating system for the next Xbox platform, which also like again, like when I was there bitching on Twitter the other day that there should be a cloud save indicator to let me know when my cloud save synced. Like, yeah, that's all well and good, but is that really going to make Xbox any money? But they're working on bigger fish, and that's fine. But stuff like this Transformers discussion, it's like, it would be cool if there was just a place where everyone could share ideas and upvote them, or and people can be like, oh, I didn't even realize that I wanted a feature like that,
Mm-hmm.
and that people could sort of come together and discuss this stuff. Because right now there's no real service for that. Microsoft has like a subreddit for the Xbox Insider program, but nobody uses it really. And a lot of people don't want to use Reddit or find it opaque and difficult to use. Like user voice was just nice and simple. Everyone knew how to use it. It was nice and easy. You signed up with your Microsoft account and job done, So it'd be cool if there was something like that where people could be like, yeah, can we get Transformers back? Um, and Microsoft could see like loads of upvotes, people campaigning for it. I think that'd be cool, but yeah. But then probably the number one petition on there would be Banjo, and
Would it though? The
I
Xbox
don't
fans
know.
had Banjo. He's in the intro of our video. Got Banjo Kazooie on the turret of Master Chief's Warthog. What more do you want? Do you actually want a new game? I saw people bringing that up again about how people were saying it was in development, and then I guess your quote from this podcast was brought up about, you were like, as of now, this podcast on June 26th, there is no Banjo game in development. Or whatever.
Yeah, because some people like, I often get DMs about it, like, oh, there's rumors that there's a Banjo game being made, and I don't want people to have false hope. Right now, there is no Banjo game in development, but that doesn't mean never. I think like sometimes with these like games like Transformers or Banjo, it just has to be the right developer at the right time. And right now I don't think there's the right developer at the right time for Banjo, but that could change someday. But right now, that's not the case.
All right,
I wonder if that's the same for the Gears collection that everyone wants. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe the coalition just has its hands full, and there's no one else who could do it. But maybe there is someone doing it.
Maybe. We got a 5 here from Banana Peel Jack. It says, slow week, question mark? Elden Ring lore podcast time. Jez, can we get an update on your journey in the lands between?
Well,
Jez,
I did. We did talk about it earlier, but I am right. What I tend to do when I'm, because I am playing Elden Ring right now as we speak, actually. But what I tend to do when I'm podcasting and playing Elden Ring, I just co-op. I just throw up the summoning sign, and like, just join random people's games and help them out. Because like there's a lot of new players coming into the game, and they summon people in when like they don't know dungeon and stuff. I keep getting summoned into the shunning grounds underneath Lane Dell, because that area is kind of confusing. I'm getting constantly summoned into there, to take people through the sewer pipes and stuff like that. I must have done that dungeon about 10 times, but just because I'm trying to get my vigor up to 60. Yeah, so yeah, like I talked about it before, I'm loving Elden Ring, and it's been a treasure, and I wanna, after I'm done with the DLC, I don't know, I think once I've finished Elden Ring's base game, I might take a break from it before I do the DLC, and sort of play an easier game as a palate cleanser for a bit. I really want to play Kunitsugami, so I might take a break from Elden Ring and play Kunitsugami when that comes out. Because I played that at Summer Game Fest, and it was really good. So I think it's going to be quite a niche game, but it's my kind of niche. It's like an action tower defense game, but actually good. So yeah, I'm loving it. I just love it. There's
Right.
not much more to say about it.
We got Sauce May Dragon with the $9.99. Question for Jez. What is the rehab hotline number for Bethesda Game Addiction? I tried out Fallout 76 for the first time since it launched the other day, and I'm starting to notice when I'm not playing.
Yeah, Fallout 76 can be really addictive. Like when you because the end game in that game is like it's really deep because you can either sort of push into the story and get deep into the lore like Bethesda style typically, or you can get addicted to like doing the events and like trying to get all the rare loot. And then you can get addicted to like having a perfect build and grinding legendaries to scrap and then trying to get the best like god rolls on a bloodied build weapon and stuff like that. I've sort of like I haven't even touched Fallout 76's DLC yet because I went really hard on Fallout 76 for like about a month and I kind of got burned out a little bit on it, but I'm gonna come back to that eventually. Like I'm also sort of like with Starfield. Like Starfield had a major update, but I completely skipped it because I don't want to come back to Starfield until um the DLC comes out later this year. Because I think that's gonna be a big deal. I'm really really excited for that.
No, man, I'm the same. I, I'm going to go back to Starfield when the DLC comes out. The question is, when's the DLC coming out? you know?
Yeah, I have no idea
September's
on that
pretty
one.
packed. And they just added another game for September, and that's the Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. And that's coming out
Yeah,
September 19th.
I don't
So,
think it's gonna be September because I think Dragon Age is gonna be September.
man, it's
Uh,
only, what, 2
which
months
is weird
away? I mean,
because
they haven't
I
announced
haven't
a
even
release date?
announced.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be this year. There must be going back and forth on like feedback on the game or something right now. Because there must be like, does this game need more time? Have we hit the right notes? Because the initial trailer was quite controversial.
The one at the
Um,
Xbox showcase? The one with the song? We can be
but yeah,
heroes! That one? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But both of them really. Like even the sort of the initial trailer was controversial because it wasn't a very Dragon Agey tone. And then like the gameplay was a bit controversial too because they showed like level 1 gameplay which isn't the most interesting or exciting, like basic enemies and that kind of thing. So like I'm wondering if they're thinking like we need to come back to the drawing board and rethink the way we're going to market this because I kind of feel like Dragon Age has to succeed. It has to succeed because I think if Dragon Age is a giant flop, I think that's the end of that franchise. And I think like,
That might be
if
the end of BioWare.
I don't think I think they'll give Mass Effect.
I don't
Mass
know,
Effect
man.
will be
I don't know.
their last cry. I
I mean,
think.
if you're
If
talking about like Dragon Age bombing, I don't know.
if Dragon Age bombs, and then if Mass Effect bombs right after it, then I think yeah, that is the end of BioWare.
I don't feel very confident in BioWare surviving if Dragon Age bombs. I don't think it matters if like, well, Mass Effect's just on the horizon. I think they're gonna, because Mass Effect's probably 2027. That's probably still 3 years away, if not longer. So they might just be
Mm.
like, nah, no, we're done. you know, which would
I feel
be,
that studio is so beloved. The
no, they used to
brand
be
damage.
beloved.
No, they're still beloved.
I mean,
Like
people
there's a lot
still
of nostalgia.
like BioWare.
People,
There isn't all nostalgia bought into it, but they haven't been the BioWare. They haven't been BioWare in like a long time.
I think the brand damage to EA would be so massive
Yeah.
that they wouldn't be able to touch that genre ever again.
Hmm.
I think like that if EA killed BioWare, you don't see a single player game from EA ever again.
I
I
mean,
think.
sometimes it kind of looks like that's the way EA is going, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. But like, God, you're right. EA is literally like, is there any other single player games coming from EA?
I
Like
mean, you
everything
have
they do is a
another
service now.
Star Wars game, like probably to finish out the trilogy. Um.
But that'll probably be it.
Well, yeah, it'll probably be the last one. I mean, you do have like they do the EA originals. but I mean that's not really them per se. Yeah, I'm struggling to think of any strictly first person or single player only games from EA. They usually don't do that stuff, man. I mean,
Yeah.
well, what is Motive doing? Isn't Motive doing Black Panther? Or yeah, isn't EA Motive doing the No, there's a Captain America Black Panther game, but that's Skydance, I think. That's Amy Hennig's game. But then there's also a No, they're doing Iron Man. That's right. No, so there is EA Motive's doing Iron Man, remember?
All right.
And then
yeah, okay.
I think EA is also doing Black Panther. I could be mistaken on that. I know EA's doing Iron
But
Man.
that's so weird because didn't EA complain about
They
didn't
did.
EA complain about licensed games?
I believe they did. Which kind of leads you to one to believe that maybe like they won't be doing licensed games after that.
Mm,
Interesting.
damn.
So there's still single player games there, but who knows for how long. We have Sauce Made Dragon with the 199. I scratch my neck a lot and break out in a sweat. I mean, it is hot out there. It is hot. Nerds and Other Legends with the 5. Question: how do you define a platform or ecosystem? Do you consider Xbox a platform? If so, when did it become a platform? Much love. Great show. Well, thank you. Interesting question. Do I consider Xbox a platform? Yes. It is a platform. But it's also an ecosystem.
It's also an ecosystem. I knew you were
If
gonna
so,
say
was it a platform? It's always been a platform. Like the Xbox console is a platform. It really didn't become an ecosystem until I would say Xbox Play Anywhere started, where you could.
Oh, fuck.
Jess, you okay there, bro? What's going on? Tired?
Just got cramp in my jaw from yawning.
Oh,
Ah,
I don't think it.
fucking hell.
I don't think it really became an ecosystem until like Gears 5 came out and you got basically the entitlement to play the game on PC or Xbox. I think that's when it truly became an ecosystem. When you could take your saves and play the game on your console, on your PC, and on the cloud, or on your Samsung TV or whatever. That's when it became an ecosystem.
Hmm.
At least that's the way how I view it. Maybe I'm wrong.
Hmm.
Do you view it differently, Jez?
No, I think you're on the money. I think I would concur with that. Randolph, all 19, the man with the million
All right. We have
cars from all his millions of dollars.
I wish. BT Maverick with the 10. What if Sony is using a tactic where certain third-party game trailers shown with the Xbox logo at first to build interest, and then Sony purposely pulls the rug, as we've recently seen, to steal interest? I mean, I don't.
With what?
That Sony uses a tactic where certain third-party game trailers shown with the Xbox logo, so he's talking like Stellar Blade and Black Myth Wukong.
Was Stellar Blade shown with the Xbox logo?
Yeah, when it was Project Eve, absolutely.
Oh shit!
It was announced for, but the difference between that is that Sony took up publishing of Stellar Blade, whereas Black Myth Wukong is just saying that, the Xbox version of that game is not up to their standards, so the game's not coming out until they're ready to come out. I don't think
standards looks like a big check from Sony. What?
I don't know, Jez.
Sorry, what? Sorry, I don't know. Some voice just came out of my mouth, and that wasn't me. But
I don't think Sony's using it. I don't think they're using a tactic like that, especially if because it costs a lot of money to publish a game. So I think they just kind of believed in Stellar Blade. Maybe they had a empty window where they thought they were going to release it, and they wanted to hey, our own first party studios they're kind of taking a long time in between releases, so we sort of need to pick up some games. And could be Stellar Blade was one of those where they saw it and they liked it, and it kind of fit what they were going for, and the studio was open to having their game picked up and stuff. And
Hmm.
Who knows? Many different reasons why, but I don't think it's a tactic they're using.
Yeah, I don't think there's a conspiracy theory with Sony doing that, but I think Sony just they've just got the bigger platform, which means they can sort of look into these situations um more easily than competitors potentially, I would say.
Mm.
But yeah, maybe I'm giving them too much credit. Maybe I'm being naive, but I don't think so.
Um, he also says, also, Rand, have you ever been to that famous chocolate cake milkshake place in Chicago? And if so, what did you think? Jez, enjoy your bean mayo shakes. Yes, I have had a chocolate cake shake from Portillo's. It is definitely very
Oh my
interesting because
god.
it's basically a cake they put into a shake. Like, legit, Jez.
That is like that is so American.
It is. It
You
is.
can't get food like that in England. You just can't. Like I posted a thread on Twitter a while ago because I was shocked when I was in LA how many options there are in Starbucks
Mm-hmm.
compared to England. Like England Starbucks is like, oh yeah, here's your coffee. You want sugar in it or not?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Whereas like America's like, how do you want your caramel drizzle heated and distributed and stuff, just weird shit like that. I couldn't believe it. Um, America's so extra, man. Why you got to be like that?
I don't
What
know.
what's the deal? Why do Americans think they're so
I
special,
don't.
man?
I don't know. I mean, the cake shake is an odd one because it's like people are like, wait a minute, they put a cake in a shake, and it's like, yeah, dude, it's basically a cake and a shake. And the
It
chocolate,
rhymes.
the chocolate cake one is okay. There was another
Oh,
one though that they had where it was like lemon cake, I believe, and it was to die for. Oh my god,
don't
it was
die.
absolutely incredible. Like they have cake, they have the chocolate cake, they got vanilla cake, but during special times of the year, they'll have like different types. And I remember one time they had lemon cake, like lemon strawberry or something, lemon cake. And I got it because my brother was in, and we were all like, "Hey, what do you want, Portillo's?" And it's like, "Oh, they got this lemon cake shake." I'm like, "Oh, get it." And it was, my mouth is watering just thinking about it because of how good it was, dude.
But the calories, man.
I
There's got to
know.
be
It's
so
like the
much
only thing you
calories
could
in this
eat.
shit.
Yeah, essentially. Yes. But
Bad
yes,
for you, bro.
I've had it. I've had it, BT Maverick. Get the lemon cake shake if you are there and are looking for something. Keyshawn Thompson, member for 31 months, says, I'm just ready for Fable. Aren't we all, man? Aren't we all? I can't wait for that game. I Sylar with the 4.99. Just like Mass Effect, I always use the default character. Otherwise, I fall asleep. Hey, man, I always use the default, too. I was even trying to... They have a random button for Cyberpunk where it just, like, creates a random character with random stuff. And I did that for a bit, and it was just so over the top and ridiculous. Like purple dreadlocks with all the scarring on his face, or rainbow this, like all these different combinations of stuff. And I'm like, this is dumb. And I just went back to the default face. I'm like, this is who I am. You know? Web
Boring.
with the 10. Well, it's not like you really see your character. It's first person game.
Mm.
Who's all the scrounging through the Xbox 360 store buying up whatever you can before the store closes for good? Yeah, that's coming up pretty soon, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't it the 21st, I think, or something like that?
I think it's this month, yeah. I know a lot of games are on sale or have been on sale, so which is great in case you want to
Mm.
purchase them. But anybody in chat, have you been buying up the old 360 games? Jay Foley with the 5. Hey guys, so I recently read that Black Ops 6 is the only free with Game Pass PC through Microsoft Store. Is their way of slowly fading out BattleNet?
We don't fade out BattleNet. Thank you very much.
Mm.
I personally think they should replace the Xbox app with BattleNet. BattleNet is way better than the Xbox app, in my view. But I don't think the Xbox app BattleNet would incorporate all the things that Xbox wants it to do. It's a problematic situation because like World of Warcraft fans and people who play like BattleNet games, they don't want to use the Xbox app. Activision's tried to kill BattleNet before, and the backlash was palpable. It was a thing. So they ended up just like, you know what, we're gonna support BattleNet, and then they started putting Call of Duty in BattleNet and all that stuff.
So
I'm sure Microsoft probably has a roadmap for what they want to do with BattleNet, but they need to fucking tread carefully because the Xbox app is not good enough to replace BattleNet right now, in my opinion.
So is what Jay Foley's saying true? Is it true that they're only going to have a Microsoft Store version of the game that you can use on Game Pass, and there won't be a BattleNet version of Black Ops 6?
Well, I think can you already Let me look on BattleNet right now. I think you can already get it or pre-order it or something. Are the pre-orders up now? I don't know. Let me check. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, there's pre-orders up. I know there's pre-orders up on the Xbox Store. Yeah, check BattleNet. See if you can pre-order it there. I mean, they made you do all the whole jumping through hoops to link your accounts for the Diablo stuff for the PC version.
Yeah, it is up on BattleNet right now. So
is it up on the Microsoft Store?
Is it up on the Microsoft Store? Good question. Let's look for Call of Duty. Call of Duty. It is not. The only Call of Duty that's up on the Microsoft Store is Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered, which is weird, and it's got 2.6 rating because people say it's not working properly. Oh no, it is there. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 Vault Edition.
Oh, okay.
It is there. I was wrong.
So it's going to be on BattleNet and it's going to be on Microsoft Store. Okay.
But I would not be surprised if the Microsoft Store version opens BattleNet, because Diablo on PC Game Pass opens BattleNet.
Yeah,
which is it's a messy implementation.
Okay, yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait until they explain it more, or we get to that point. BHO reviews with the 5. Big fan since the pandemic and never missed since. Well, that's amazing. Listening on Spotify on my way to work and home. My 11-year-old son loves your book suggestions. Whoa. I mean, I gotta maybe be a little... Don't read any of my grimdark suggestions about, like, First Law series or something. That might be a little bit too much for an 11-year-old, but that's crazy. That's awesome. At least somebody's listening to my book suggestions, because every time I talk about it with Jez, he's just like... he's like, is it a World of Warcraft book? And I'm like, no.
Books are lame, bro.
Yeah, books. I mentioned...
Nobody actually likes books.
Love books. I mentioned, Capcom had an event. Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. They talked about it. That's a kind of a game that is straddling the line between a remake and a remaster, isn't it, Jez?
What is?
Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. It's like straddling the line between a remake and a remaster. More so than... Because it's not just like an upscale resolution boost, right?
They've replaced the voice actor.
Yeah, the voice actor's knocked back. It's based on the Resident Evil engine. Like, I've seen the before and after shots and it's like a clear upgrade. So this is like, it's weird because there's not many games that you have a full-on remake or just a remaster where the minimum amount of work is done. It's like, well, it was 1080p here, so now it's 4K. This has, like, they're changing some things, they're adding some things, and it's like, $50. I did think it was interesting that it is coming digitally first and then physical. I sort of wonder if that...
intriguing.
I sort of wonder if that will be the future of physical eventually, where it'll be digital first and then a physical version later. Do you think that ever could be the standard? Because that's how Hollywood does it with movies that come to theater, is like, they'll be digital only for a month, and then the physical Blu-ray comes out. Is that something the game industry would be looking to adapt to get more people on the digital train, where they, I think, make more money? Or is this probably just more specific to this game in general?
It's hard to say. I mean, clearly there's upheaval when it comes to there's clear upheaval when it comes to digital, physical, and stuff like that. There were rumors recently that the UK's only game retailer left was going to stop selling video games recently, which I thought was hilarious because the company's literally called Game. But apparently it wasn't true. But I don't know where there's smoke, you know. But yeah, I mean, it could be a thing, I suppose. We'll have to wait and see. You know, I suppose. I think one of the things you might see next gen with the PlayStation 6 and the Xbox Series X and S2, I think you can probably expect neither of them are going to have disk drives. Do you think that's a fair prediction or a realistic one? I don't think the next Xbox and next PlayStation won't have disk drives. I don't think.
Like built in, but would they have them as add-ons?
I don't think they'll even have them as add-ons.
No. I think PlayStation will definitely have them as an add-on.
I think there's a high chance Xbox won't have them as an add-on.
Man, I know there are going to be a lot of people that are going to be pissed with their whole back and pat stuff. You won't be able to put a disc in to get it.
Yeah, I mean the solution would be
line to straddle there.
Yeah, it would be. And the solution there, I suppose, would be to allow generic, just any Blu-ray external USB to license the disc.
Yeah, that ain't gonna.
But
happen.
That's not gonna happen.
I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that shit could go down, but I think like the shift to digital is going to be turbocharged next gen.
Sure.
I don't think they.
We've already seen PlayStation with their slim version of the PS5 have an add-on to the disc, right? Because this is an easy way to make one variant, and then like instead of like 2 lines. I think they'll continue that with the PS6. Well, the disc drive will be an add-on. They'll probably actually make more of the digital ones than the add-on ones, or maybe you're right. Maybe it'll be maybe they'll just sell them as completely digital, and if you want the physical, you have to go out and buy this $100 add-on to get it. I don't know. They could do either. I'm gonna guess there's gonna be a model that has a disc drive on it, but is detachable. And then if they eventually get to a PS7, that's when I think it's like, no, there's no more physical. It's all digital. But, I mean, you kind of walk a fine line there because there are a lot of people who do buy physical still, even though it's the smaller part of the market and it's only getting smaller. And they do have a very loud voice.
Yeah, they do.
And they will be, sure enough, they will tell you how they feel and how they won't buy a game until it comes to physical. And Xbox basically is a digital platform now, and a lot of games don't even come.
Steam paved the way for this because Steam's been.
But nobody cares about that. Nobody cares that Steam is all digital. Nobody cares. It's like a different conversation for whatever reason. It's okay for Steam to be completely digital, and not okay for anybody else to be.
That's mean.
I mean, that's just how it is. Maybe it's because PC's been mostly digital for a long, long time, or longer than the consoles. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I could easily see Xbox not having a disc drive, but I think they'll offer an add-on at least, because I do think there are going to be plenty of people out there that are going to want it for their back and pat stuff. That'd be like, look at all these discs. These are useless now, essentially. But we'll see how that goes. What else we have here, Jez? We got some Tokyo Game Show news. I don't know if you saw this.
Yeah,
so
I did.
For the first time in 5 years, PlayStation is at Tokyo Game Show.
They've got a new console to sell.
Well, yeah, but it's interesting. They have a new console to sell. They got a PS5 Pro supposedly coming out this year. So they also have Astrobot, which maybe is also a game that is the Japanese audience would like. So they're going to be at Tokyo Game Show. And normally Xbox is at the Tokyo Game Show, and they the last couple years they've had a stream. And it sounds like this year they're not going to be at Tokyo Game Show. At least that's the.
I would not take that as confirmation that they're not
Okay.
gonna have a stream.
Okay, so
I think there's still. I think I've heard that they are still gonna have a stream.
okay, so they're still going to have a stream, but they're not going to be an exhibitor essentially like they have been.
Yeah, potentially. I don't know that for certain. So don't take that as a report, please. But I've heard a rumor that they are gonna have something for Tokyo Game Show, like some kind of stream or some kind of something. Even if like it's like an idea Xbox kind of showcase Japanese indie games or something like that. Um, a low key kind of thing because I just don't think they've got a lot of new stuff to show. But I don't think they're doing nothing. I don't think they're completely precluding themselves from it. So
Okay, I mean that's interesting. I know like 2 years ago I think the Tokyo Game Show stream was pretty good, and I think last year's wasn't the best. I know people were concerned about Xbox showing up after they shut down Tanko Gameworks, or how the Japanese audience would like welcome them or what have you. And I sort
I
of
mean,
wonder.
that is probably a factor. Yeah.
I also sort of wonder. A couple years ago, Sarah Bond and Phil, because they made the trip out there, they talked about making investments and like having like exclusive Japanese games. I don't know if you remember those conversations or not, where they
Vaguely.
talked about that. Like, we got some stuff coming. I sort of wonder if like the whole Japanese push is kind of stalled out.
Yeah, I mean, it might have done. I mean, it's probably a result of, the sort of contraction that we've seen Xbox have, where it's like they've decided, oh, actually, we need to save some money, so prioritize the easy wins, I suppose, or prioritize the things that we know we can deliver on to some degree. Um, Obviously, I don't know how true that is, just speculation. But I suppose like Japan and Japanese games for Microsoft it's a big investment area that isn't a safe bet, 100%, right? So I suppose if there was something you were gonna sort of pull back on a little bit and reallocate resources, it probably would be the Japanese effort. Which sucks as a fan of Japanese games, of course, but
I mean, if there's a way,
um,
there were rumors about a
speculation.
Blue Dragon remaster that was supposed to show up at the Xbox showcase. I mean, if that actually was real, I mean,
I don't think that was real. I
you don't
think
think
that
so?
was no, I can't remember where I heard that rumor originally,
Mm.
but I did hear it, and Nate heard it, and so did Special Nick. And I don't remember at the time thinking this isn't credible. Man, I should really start writing down where it's from. But I
Yeah, because
remember thinking like
you have a bad memory when it comes to some of
I
these
do
things.
have a bad memory. I just remember thinking like, oh, this could be real. I don't remember thinking like this isn't real or this is fake. But clearly it wasn't true because I think Mistwalker themselves said they've got no interest
Yeah,
in
yeah.
doing that.
Well, that doesn't necessarily
So
mean that maybe they have no interest in like them doing it themselves, but maybe a port studio would do it.
yeah, maybe.
Um, I totally skipped over this when we were talking about the Dead Rising stuff, but one of the things came out the Capcom thing was surprise, new Resident Evil is in development, Jez.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 9, or we don't know the actual name of the new Resident Evil. We don't even know if it's like Well, we're pretty sure it's a new game as like the mainline, not like one of the remakes, because there are rumors out there that Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil Code Veronica are getting remakes, which is I'm down for. Why not? Sure. Code Veronica's great, I think. Why not remake
I
it?
love Code Veronica, man.
Yeah.
One of my favorites.
So during the stream, the new director of Resident Evil 9, Koshi Nakasin, I'm gonna have a terrible time pronouncing his last name. I'll just say Koshi, who was the game director of Resident Evil 7, which I adored. He says it was really difficult to figure out what to do after Resident Evil 7, but I found it, and to be honest, it feels substantial, which is great. He even wanted to go on to talk about he reminisced about Resident Evil 7's shift away from action back to horror, because you remember, as the Resident Evils progressed from 1 to 2 to 3, 4 kind of straddled the line perfectly between action and horror. You could call it maybe the first action horror game, whatever, right? Like 1, 2, 3, very much horror games. You know, it had the block camera view, and then 4 opened it up 3D. It was definitely more actiony, but still kept the horror elements. 5 went a little bit further, more into action, but it still had the tank movement controls where you couldn't move while shoot. And then 6 went completely action, basically ditched the horror. 7 pulled it all the way back. Not only did it pull all the way back and went back to horror, but they went to first person, which was a big change for the series, and I loved it when they went to first person. And they continue with first person with Village. And I that's another question I have. Is Resident Evil 9 going to be back in first person, or are they going to keep the first person game strictly for the Ethan Winters sub-series? But he said when we first started development on Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil was, well, if I'm being honest, as a brand, we were off track. The action element had been expanded, and fans reacted much more negatively than expected. In the end, a Resident Evil game has to be scary. The general consensus from fans of the series was that a Resident Evil game is one that should scare the hell out of you. That was the starting point for Resident Evil 7. So, hey, I'm very much a fan of survival horror. He directed Resident Evil 7, and I love Resident Evil 7. I think I played that game like 3 times, maybe even 4. I forget how many times it took me to play through that to get everything. But you know, that's excitement. That really does, because it sounds like we're going to be more horror focused than action focused, and I don't really mind an action focus as long as, like, if you keep it more in balance like Resident Evil 4, but it does seem like this is going to be even more horror focused, and it's like, next thing I don't know if it's going to be first person, but either way, I love me some Resident Evil, Jez, and man, I can't.
Yep, me too.
I guess there's the rumors out there that it's an open world game. Remember those we talked about previously?
I don't know how I feel about that.
I'm not sure how I would feel about open world. I mean, I know people say, well, Resident Evil Village was kind of open world, and it's like, not really.
No, it's not.
It's like sectioned off.
It's like it's interconnected.
Yeah, interconnected
hub areas. Like, it's almost like Dark Souls 1, and it's sort of like interconnected with shortcuts and stuff like that, almost. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about open world. I'd really have to sort of wait and see, kind of, about that.
We got iSiler18 with the $4.99. Jez finishes the Elden base game. Insert "it's been 84 years later" meme for the DLC. Yeah. And good old Collinwood with the 5. The Gametsu article only talked about floor presence at TGS. Xbox barely has any floor space at TGS. Hazador was incorrect. No, not my buddy Hazador. Yeah, I don't know much about the TGS stuff, and like Jez said, hold off on that. Jez, I think
they're gonna have something.
I gotta take this phone call. It's family, so
phone call.
Yeah.
Family.
Mm-hmm. So take some questions. I'll be right back.
Hit me with some questions, chat, while we wait for Rand to return. So, how have you all been? Lovely weather. Lovely weather, guys. Right? Um, anyone have any updates on Crimson Desert? You know what? I've played Crimson Desert. I played Crimson Desert very early build last year at Gamescom behind closed doors, and it was very good. It was very, very, very good. I think Crimson Desert is still a thing. It's still coming. So, stay tuned. Um, but I think that game's probably going to be further off than you think. Um, I hope they keep Resident Evil 9 first person. Keep Resident Evil fresh, says Tyrone. Yeah, I actually really like Resident Evil 9 as I actually really like Resident Evil 9 as, Resident Evil 7 and 8 as first person. I really did like that. That was really cool. Jez, did you see Blizz advertising some new Starfield merch today? I did not see that. What is that? That's interesting. Jez, have you heard any updates on a new achievement system? I I think Microsoft just doesn't have. Microsoft just doesn't have bandwidth right now to do that kind of stuff. I think they just sort of like they just don't have the bandwidth. Unfortunately. So we just need to sort of hope and pray that once they get all that cloud stuff sorted out, that something changes. Because right now, I don't think, I don't think it's on their radar. To be honest, I wish it was, but I don't think it is. What Xbox try to get gacha games? I've heard that there is an effort from Microsoft to engage and get Hoyoverse on board. But I don't know if they've got existing deals with Sony that preclude Xbox. But I think it's really important that Microsoft does get some of these games because they are huge with Gen Z. And I think like if Xbox is have a longevity, kind of needs to pay attention to the fact that Gen Z exists. Microsoft doesn't have an entire genre under its belt right now. I think there is some kind of I don't know. I think there is some kind of there is a gacha game coming to Xbox. I can't remember its name. Wasn't it like called Mugen or something like that? Someone in chat help me out. I think it's called Mugen. Yeah, I don't know. Jez, if you decide to get married, will it be a cosplay wedding of Druid marrying Lilith? I mean, maybe. Um, my girlfriend, like, she doesn't play games. She doesn't really. She doesn't. She plays. She likes Mario, and she likes. She likes Tetris. She played Limbo though. She completed Limbo. She likes like side-scrolling games that she doesn't really have to play like on a 3D axis. I think she just never like as a kid, she never like learned how to control a game on a 3D axis, and I think a lot of people didn't. And I think if you don't learn that as a kid, it can be like hard to learn as an adult. And I think she's in that situation. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. God Emperor Sofa King says, thoughts on the Xbox Live outage and how everyone was losing their minds. So like when the Xbox Live outage happened, it was like late at night, I think in Germany, and I was already in bed, so it didn't affect me personally. But I think it kind of sucks, right? That when you pay for a service and it does have these kind of outages. But, Xbox Live is a big, complicated system. So I think outages are sort of inevitable sometimes, at least. And I think that's sort of like that's even sort of suggested in Microsoft's service level agreement that there is I think it's up to 2%. I think downtime a year or something like that. So it's not outside the realm of possibility that you're gonna get outages sometimes. But it still sucks when it does happen, I suppose. What I'm sort of interested in, like, was this an attack? Was this like a DDoS, denial of service attack? Was there something more sinister behind it, or did someone trip over a cable? That's kind of what I'm interested in. Um, I don't know. I don't know. The Andrew 13 says, "Congrats on being rid of the Tory expletive. Is $1. Thank you very much." Yes, I'm quite pleased with the election result as someone whose family has suffered immeasurably as a result of the previous government's policies. So I will be celebrating tomorrow with some of my friends forthwith. Um, but yeah, good old politics, eh? Um, Tyrone Israel says your GF is based. Mario, Tetris, and Limbo is great. Yeah, like she played the hell out of what's it called now? What's it called? The Mario new Super Mario Brothers on the Switch. She played the hell out of that. She completed it. The side-scrolling new Super Mario Brothers, the side-scrolling one. She completed that shit. She loved it. Rambling Gamer Guy says, I think part of the big issue was that even folks' physical games were not working during the outage. The thing about this, the whole thing about physical games not working during the outage, the only way that happens is if you don't set your Xbox to offline. If there's an Xbox Live outage, you have to, and then this is Microsoft's fault because Microsoft could fix this, right? But if there's an outage and you want to play your games offline, you have to go to your network settings and then set Xbox to offline. And then I think you get something like a week or a month, something like that, of access to your games that are sort of active on your system, right? But the console does have to ping home, I think like after a month or something like that. But by which time the console will be back up, right? But the problem is if you game share, if you're game sharing, which remember Microsoft does not officially support game sharing, not officially supported feature of the console. If you're game sharing, then yeah, you can't set your console to offline. You can't because you aren't using your offline license. You're using your online license, and you need your online license in order to authenticate. So if you don't have the console set to your home console, it's kind of your own fault. This is the risk. This is the risk you run of console sharing. It's the risk you run. Um, yeah, Wolfgang KPZ says, not true. I launched games during the outage, and Xbox has an update that prompts and asks you to switch to offline. They're definitely working on this. Yeah. I mean, they could make it more visible, I suppose, because it is a reality that a lot of people do console share. They do share their games. But yeah. Give me some questions, guys. Hit me up. I'm I don't know, man. Somali says, does the UK have a new president? We don't have presidents. We have parties. So we have a new political party in power and a prime minister. But the prime minister, like, it's a bit different than America. There's the whole party in charge and MPs that got to vote on shit. I don't know. Zach Riley says, Jez, who's winning Money in the Bank tomorrow? Is Money in the Bank tomorrow? Oh shit, need to watch it. That's sick. Gonna be sick. I'm gonna put a reminder down to watch that. Who's playing? I don't who's in the match in Money in the Bank? I don't even know. I'm out of touch, man. Have you watched WrestleMania yet? I haven't finished it. No, I'm still on day one. I tried to watch it with my girlfriend the other day. I was like, "Can we watch the second half?" And she was like, "No, I don't feel like it," so we didn't watch it. But I suppose now I'm in England, I can, I can take over the TV and do what I want. Um, Worst injury you've ever had, the Andrew 13. Probably sepsis. When I was a kid, I had a burst appendix and I ignored it and for like a few days and then it developed into sepsis. It was really bad. The doctor was like, this kid's got like a couple of hours to live. And apparently they were talking about amputating limbs and shit like that, but luckily
Wait,
I
what
survived.
happened?
Oh, we're
What
talking
happened?
about my worst injury.
Oh,
I
your
had, se-
worst
I had,
injury?
se- yeah, I had
Okay.
sepsis
Well,
when
were
I was a
people
kid.
wondering about like, well, Rand had blood pouring out of his ears because he had a concussion when people wanted to know.
No, we're talking about just talking about random ass stuff.
Mm,
Portugal just got eliminated by France in the Euros, and
mm.
Germany got eliminated by Spain, much to my
Is this
girlfriend's
is this
family's depression.
soccer stuff?
Soccer, yeah, it's
Yeah.
soccer, Rand.
Yes.
Soccer, Rand.
Good old soccer. I
Soccer.
saw Joaquin sent me something that Apple has
Yeah, there
decided
was
to
some
let,
drama with.
yeah, like the
There's
Fortnite,
some
like
drama.
Epic Store app on Apple, and they declined it, and now they approved it. So Fortnite's gonna be back on iOS.
Yeah,
Some
but you have to jump through a lot of hoops to get
mm,
that to work.
interesting.
So like the so like the and probably only in Europe as well. So like in Europe, the European Union has forced Apple to allow third parties to put storefronts on iOS, similarly to how Windows is open, right? But on Windows, you can just download Steam from any or anything from any website and run it, right? But Apple's going to make it a pain in the arse to run third party stuff on their platform because of course they are. Because of course they are. Because they're Apple and they suck. So, um, initially what happened was Epic, as part of the Digital Millennium Act, I think it's called the DMA. I think it's called that in Europe. It might be called something else. I might be getting it mixed up. Um, but the European Union was like, Apple, you have to allow Epic Games to put its own Epic Game Store on iOS, or we will fine your asses a shitload of money. And Epic was like, sweet, so we can do this now. And they built an app and whatever. They submitted it to Apple because again, Apple will only allow approved apps to third-party apps to run on its system, which again is nothing like Windows, and probably even that in itself makes a mockery of the legislation, but whatever. And they declined it because they said Epic's store was too similar to Apple's store because it had download buttons and stuff like that. It's like, what the fuck is Apple smoking? So Epic Games put out like a press release saying they were going to sue Apple and tell on them in the European Union. And then like a few minutes later, Apple was like, "Oh, actually, we approve it now."
Yeah, weird.
Like, what do they think? Did they think Epic was just gonna let that fucking slide? Apple is such a petty, shitty, cringy company, man.
Mm. We know how
I
much
just
we know how
can't
much you hate
stand them.
them. We know how much you hate
I
them.
fucking hate that company. They're just so cringe, and they're so anti-competitive. They're just an awful company. Like I would never buy an Apple product. I just think they're just immoral and bankrupt creatively as well.
Mm.
It's a terrible company. Um, but yeah, the European Union was forcing them
You're
to open up.
roboting, by the way.
Oh shit! Yeah, I can see red.
Jez the robot.
Am I still roboting? Oh
No,
shit.
you're good. You're good. So, what else has been going on? I don't know if you saw this, Jez, but Exo Primal's seasonal content is ending already. So that lasted like a year, huh?
Yeah, I mean they're keeping the servers on, but it's not going to have any more content updates. Exo Primal was just it was doomed from the start. It wasn't.
Doomed.
It just wasn't dynamic enough. Every match was exactly the same, like literally exactly the same. Um, it needed to be more like Left 4 Dead, I think, where there was just sort of more dynamism in the game overall. But it was never gonna get there. Like the game, the underlying sort of system was um just never gonna work, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
fair play to Capcom, they're keeping the servers online for people who want to play. They just said it won't get any more content. So
There's also a little report here that GTA 5 story DLC was scrapped because GTA Online was such a cash cow. Cinematics editor claims, quote, "It was hard to make an argument that standalone DLC would outcompete that." I mean, that's been the rumor forever, right? That there is a
I
bunch
mean,
of DLC,
yeah.
story DLC for the game that never will see the light of day because the GTA Online just made so much money. So,
I mean, that's what that guy said. The guy who worked on StarCraft that you know, World of Warcraft's sparkly horse mount did more revenue than StarCraft 2's entire expansion.
mm,
So when you think of things like that, that's sort of like a prioritization issue. It
yeah,
kind of sucks because it's when the money supersedes the art of it, right? And I
yeah,
think that's why games like Elden Ring are so popular, is because you can just clearly tell that they're working to a vision. They could add an easy mode, and make it more appealing. They could like add
oh God. You
DLC
just
and they could
reminded
add
me.
they could add horse armor,
You
and they
just
don't do it.
you just reminded me of the whole discussion that happened this week about Elden Ring and that
Oh,
whole,
the pause thing.
well, yeah, and the whole situational disability with like new parents and stuff, and that whole discussion that happened because of it with Alana Pierce.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
did see some of that. Yeah.
which is weird because Alana. I thought it was weird because Alana wasn't advocating for it; she was just explaining it. Like, this is what the terms are in the game industry, and people just were like, Alana Pierce is campaigning for for a pause button, and she thinks kids are a disability or whatever, and it's just like, no, that's not what she was saying. She was just explaining it. But,
Yeah, I think some people just like going at Alana sometimes because
well, there's obviously a lot
she
of
she
people, yeah,
has
yeah,
she
outrage
has
culture.
punched. There's outrage culture, but also like Alana's like been guilty of punching down. I think sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and I think some people were like, oh, finally, this is a gotcha moment. But I don't think this was the gotcha moment that some people was. But I don't know. I mean, I can see the argument about Elden Ring having a pause mode. It kind of. I'm not someone who has a kid, so it doesn't bother me that Elden Ring doesn't have a pause button. Like just now when you went to answer the phone, I was trying to help a host of fingers fight Rickard.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh shit, can't pause the game.
You
It's
also
situational disability.
you also
Uh,
roboting,
oh man, I don't know why.
but now you're not. I don't
That's,
know. It's weird.
that's Discord because I'm not lagging on the game. I don't know. Discord might be having issues where I am or something.
Yeah, that was a big hold thing. Windows Central.
Good
Um,
website. Some
Zachary
point.
Body got to interview the Avowed developers.
Yes, yes, I did.
Got some new details. They've been going around talking to people. They were talking to Kind of Funny. They've been going around. One of the things take away from this is no romancing. How do you feel about that, Jez? No, can't romance any characters.
I think it's a good thing
Yeah.
because a lot of games suck at it,
Okay.
and they don't do it very well. I think writing romance into a game is difficult and probably expensive because like you have to make it realistic and not seem cheap. You got to do like a lot of good writing, but you've also got to sort of account for all the ways a character might react differently based on your decisions if you're supposed to be in love with them and in a relationship, right? So I'm not entirely surprised that they decided not to do that. Um, I think having no romance is better than having a shitty romance system. But because like for example, there is some like light romance stuff in Starfield. It's not very well done at all, I don't think.
Hmm.
I would probably go as far to say it's pretty terrible.
So
Um,
so your opinion is if you can't do it great, then don't do it at all. Essentially.
yeah, that is exactly my opinion. If you
Yeah.
can't do romance well, just don't do it. Just don't even try. That's my opinion. Um,
Yeah. They also talk about improving the combat a lot in the interview.
yeah,
Um,
I mean there was a lot of feedback from the initial reveal, and I think some people thought it looked I
what
don't
was
want to
the
say
what was
janky.
what was the word we used? There was a word that me and you used after the developer direct. We were like, it seemed to be, God, I forget what it was, but it lacked impact for starters.
Yeah, it didn't look tactile.
Yeah.
Um, and it does sound like we weren't the only people saying that,
Well, they even
really,
say
because
here in the article, we also looked at posing to give that visceral, immediate feedback. We really focused on that and the blood impacts and the VFX feedback and the audio. We basically went and looked at all the pieces that make combat feel more juicy. So,
yeah,
and
juicy is a good word. I like
juicy is a
that.
good word
Juicy.
because that was one of the drop. And I think they also said like there's more darker areas in the game that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, because that initial trailer was quite dark. You know,
Very dark. Yeah.
it looked almost Soulsian, I want to say.
Ooh.
The very sort of like castles in the dark aura and stuff like that, you know. But but then the trailers come out and it was like, oh wow, this is actually really vibrant. And if you remember my sort of unauthorized preview, I did say that the game looked like the Outer Worlds
Mm-hmm.
with its sort of vibrant colors and stuff. And I think like when you look at the first reveal trailers, I think that was probably quite fair to call it like the Outer Worlds. But they've said like they've now come out and said these are just some of the areas in the game. There's actually going to be like way more cool stuff to see, and
Yeah.
you
They
know
even talk
there's
about the length of the
darker
game
tone.
being about the same length as Outer Worlds.
She's a
Um,
beefy game,
yeah,
like
Outer
30
Worlds is
hours
yeah.
to do
They
everything.
they talk about the skill tree, how basically you can spec and respec to your heart's content. Like they don't, you make a decision about what you want to upgrade. You're not locked into that. You can kind of change and maybe screw around with another play style, which is always fun. I like that better than being okay, I made this choice, I want this, and then I'll never be able to like re-choose it. So I do enjoy the games that give you that freedom of like, all right, well, maybe I want to try out a different play style, and I can do that. I can respec all my points and go off on a different
Mm.
thing or whatever. That's cool. Because they have an interesting quote here. They say if the player can just fill up all the skill trees, what was the choice there? And I never really thought about it that way. Whereas like if you just get everything, what's the choice? But then for some
Yeah,
people, it's like the choice is, well, I'm going to play enough of this game and so much of this game that I'm going to get all the skills, where other people won't. I still think maybe that is a choice that you can, like some players will play the fuck out of Avowed, and should those players be rewarded with having everything? Is that a choice? I
no,
would.
I fundamentally disagree about that.
Okay.
Like I actually like when I went to the World of Warcraft preview in London, a few weeks ago. I was shocked to discover that the hero talent trees they've added to the game are like that. They give you every point in the tree,
Mm.
and I was like, well, I said to Blizzard's lead dev, I was like, you get every point, but where's the choice? If you get every point, where's the choice? And they were sort of like shocked that they were like taken aback that I thought of it that way. But I sort of think about it like, okay, well, it's easy to balance, I suppose, if they, if they know that every player is going to have every talent point in the tree, then it's potentially easier to balance the different points. But I kind of feel like at that point, why even have a tree? Why even have a skill tree if you're just going to let people get everything? I don't know. But yeah, I'm hoping that Avowed is at least as good as the Outer Worlds, and I'm aware of the fact that Obsidian is not the biggest studio in the universe, so I'm not expecting the universe of them, but I think it should be a pretty decent game and a good experience, and I'm quite looking forward to it, personally.
Yeah. I'm just I mean, Obsidian's a rock solid studio, so.
Yes, I am.
We also sort of got some crazy taxi details as well. Sounds like it's going to be, and I know a lot of people were disappointed. This a massively multiplayer kind of game. Maybe not necessarily like an MMO, but along the lines of that, like Forza Horizon almost. A lot of people are like, "Oh, single player," but apparently Crazy Taxi is going to be more multiplayer orientated. You have any strong feelings either way on that one, or I know you don't really
Never
care
played it.
about racing games, so you don't probably
Never played it. Never played it.
Never played it. Never will. So yeah. Well, I figure let's take a look at some Patreon questions. Thank you everyone for being here. If you hit the like button for us and subscribe, that we would be eternally grateful. I'm going to take a look at some of the questions our patrons have dropped off here. We have Sith Lord. Is an Xbox 2 an inverted podcast? Yes, it is. It is an inverted podcast. Rand, your parents could have sued the crap out of your school for your concussion today. Glad you're okay. Well, thank you. And they probably could have, yeah. I remember hearing the story about it where they were like, I'm like, why didn't you sue them? Because they didn't tell you I smacked my head against the ground, and then I came home, started puking all over the place, started bleeding out of my ears, and then you take me to the emergency room, and the doctor's like, oh, he has a concussion. And it's like, how did he get a concussion? And the school's just like, oh yeah, your son hit his head on the gym floor, and we didn't bother to tell you about it. That's an easy victory right there.
Yeah, but
civil
but this was like the 1960s though, right?
This would have been like
1960.
This would have been in the 80s,
maybe?
bro. This would have been in the 80s.
Oh, so 1968, got it.
Yeah,
so there probably wasn't like much protection for kids back then, so yeah, it's probably understandable, bro.
We have Sick and Tired here saying, will you guys get a PS5 Pro when it releases? With no Xbox mid-gen upgrade, I'm really interested in seeing what Sony can come up with. The most interesting thing for me is what they can do with the new ML block and the PS Super Resolution. PS5 Pro is more ML powered than the 3090 does. This should mean the new PS Super Resolution should match what Nvidia is doing with the DLSS 3.0. They also have far better improvements in ray tracing abilities. Any interest from you two in the tech side of it?
I think some of the tech stuff is quite interesting, but at the same time, it's not interesting enough to make me want to invest in a whole extra ecosystem. Because I've already got a 4070 laptop, and it's not the most powerful thing in the world. It's a laptop at the end of the day, but if I do want to try push in stuff like I would rather do it on PC where I already own like hundreds of Steam games, or I'd rather do it on my Xbox where I own hundreds of Xbox games. Like buying a whole new system and ecosystem for me is just not an option at this point, personally.
Oh, I did forget one topic, Jez, but it's a quick one. Why Lego Horizon isn't coming to Xbox.
Oh right, yeah.
I did forget
So,
this one, and I did see it in my note. I was like, Lego Horizon not coming to Xbox. So Stephen Totillo got to talk to Gorilla, and he asked him a question like, "Hey, why is it on Switch?" And he said, "You know, we're going for that family-friendly younger audience," which fair enough. I mean, yeah, that's what Switch can give you. Makes total sense. They asked him why not about Xbox. They mentioned that they are focused on pushing the PS5 hardware to its limits, and they don't have anything to announce about Xbox right now. And basically the same answer for the PS4. So
you can. So their logic is we want to push the Nintendo Switch.
yeah, we want to push
limits.
the PS5 to its limits, but then we're also going to make a Switch version. So how do you just? Yeah, how do you like those two answers?
They don't correlate.
I mean, I get why you would want it on the Switch. It's probably the platform where Lego games sell the most, and you don't want.
I don't know why they just didn't say something like, "Look, we don't have no plans to support Xbox."
Because
why
I mean,
just say that?
Because what if they decided they wanted to? Because you don't want to back yourself up against the wall and say we're never bringing Lego Horizon to Xbox when maybe they have plans to bring it to Xbox 6 months later or something.
They're never bringing it to Xbox.
I'm just saying you don't have to say never. You can just say, we don't have any plans right now for it. And that could be your answer forever. But you don't have to say it's never coming. Because that could put you in a hole. You know? Sure, we may know that PlayStation doesn't want Lego Horizon Adventures on Xbox, but you don't necessarily need to come out with your PR and saying Xbox, never heard of her, you know? You don't need to say that. You can just say what they said, like, oh, we don't have anything to announce right now for Xbox. Because it gives that slight sense of hope, potentially, but then also is like, well, okay, nothing's happening. You know?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe JB1521 is right. Just blame the Series S, bro.
Yeah, the Series S, it's always causing issues. It's always causing those problems.
But are you interested in the PlayStation?
So the
5
PlayStation
Pro,
5 Pro, am I interested in it from a tech standpoint? Because he said any interest from even the tech side of it. I'm not a tech dude, so not really. No. And I would be interested in it if the PlayStation was my primary platform. Because I've talked about this before. I remember when people were like, we don't want no we don't want no next gen. I was trying to do a song to Pink Floyd's thing.
I heard that.
And I screwed up.
We don't want no cross-gen gaming.
Yeah, we don't want no mid-gen upgrades. Right? Because there was that talk when all these rumors were floating around. There was people out there that were like, we don't need mid-gen upgrades. And I was sitting there and be like, actually, I kind of want one. If this generation is going until 2028, give me a mid-gen upgrade. Because certain games are struggling to hit 60. Some games are only at 30. Granted, there's not that many of them now. I mean, there's like a handful. There's like 3 or 4 games that hit 30. But maybe that gets worse. I don't know. And it was like, well, if the generation's lasting to 2028, yeah, give me a mid-gen upgrade. I'll play it. I'll get it. I don't care. I mean, I'm on Xbox. That's where I play all the time. Yeah, I want it because I'll get my money's worth out of it. The question
I don't care. I do what I want.
Yeah. The problem is I won't get my money's worth out of a PS5 Pro. That's the issue for me. Is I have a PS5 digital, and almost every single year, I think at launch I played Astrobot and Miles Morales and Demon's Souls. Okay.
Did you finish Demon's Souls?
I did. I ran through co-op with Luca. I didn't play it like by myself. I played it with Luca, which was a lot of fun. Wow. 2021 was just Returnal, which was amazing. And I still think Returnal is the best PlayStation exclusive this generation. And Ratchet, so it was like 2 games. 2022 was God of War. I'm trying to think if there's any other game. Last year was Spider-Man and Final Fantasy 16. So it seems like be like 2 or 3 games I play on PlayStation every year. This year, Stellar Blade, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, probably still gonna play
Stars.
probably still gonna play Rebirth.
Foam
Astrobot.
Stars.
Astrobot I'm really looking forward to. Okay, but that's money I already spent. All right, but now they're probably going to want $599 for the PS5 Pro, maybe even $699, and I just don't use it enough. I just don't use it enough to justify the cost. So, and I'm not a tech dude. So the tech dude, like when you say PS Super Resolution and ML Block and DLSS 3.0, I honestly don't even know what those words mean. Because I'm not that tech focused on stuff. So, yeah, if Xbox is making one, I get it, absolutely, but they aren't, and they might be starting a generation sooner. So, in 2026, it'd be interesting to see whenever Sony does unveil this. I imagine they would do some sort of show, maybe a showcase alongside of it. There's maybe September.
Maybe the flagship game is Halo Infinite.
Yeah, I doubt that. I doubt that very much. But
The flagship PS5 Pro games, Halo Infinite, with 8K resolution and I don't know. Cortana's actually powered by ChatGPT.
Yeah. Charging Buck says, Rand, you've expressed your dislike for Nintendo overall. If that is the case, I'm surprised that you ever purchased a Switch in the first place. What was the I need this moment for you when it came to buying the console?
That's a great fucking question. I want to know this too. Why the fuck did you buy a Switch?
Well, okay. It's not that I dislike Nintendo. I'm more apathetic towards Nintendo. Like, I don't hate Nintendo. I'm not interested in any of the stuff they make. So that's... And, okay, I will say I do play up, like, of Nintendo a little bit. They don't interest me. So I don't really think about them. I don't really talk about them. I don't dislike Nintendo. I'm just apathetic towards them. Why did I get the Switch? Why did I get the Switch?
You can't even remember, can you? Damn.
I do remember when they announced like Bayonetta 3 and Metroid Prime 4 all the way back. I think it was Metroid Prime 4. I think it was like that combination of Metroid Prime 4 and Bayonetta 3 where I was like, oh my god.
They only just revealed that though.
Metroid Prime 4 was revealed in 2017, bro. What do you mean?
No, but wasn't it just like a word? It wasn't like...
Yeah, but it was a logo, but then at the time you thought it was coming sooner than later. So it's like, oh, Metroid Prime 4 is coming? Okay. So it's probably Metroid Prime 4 that really pushed me over the edge. And yeah, is it a purchase I got my money out of? Absolutely not. I played a few games on there. But FOMO, bro. Sometimes just like, well, I want to, there's also this thing where people have it where it's like, you can't criticize a platform unless you own it. There are some people that are like, well, I own an Xbox, so I can talk shit about it, even though I never play and I don't own any library on there. They like sneakily buy it just so they can sound impartial or neutral when they're talking about it. And it's like, dude, the jig is up. We know you don't give a shit. I'm not saying that people actually bought one specifically to do that, but they buy it and they're like, well, I don't have it. And it's like, okay, well, I can talk about it because I own it or what have you. There's a part of me also that wonders if I will fall victim to FOMO with the Nintendo Switch 2. Whenever it does get announced, and I'm just like, because you did see Nintendo say that one of their plans with the Switch 2 was to make as many units as they possibly can to keep scalping under control. And also, do you see Nintendo talk about AI? I don't know if you saw that or not.
Yeah, Nintendo said they're not going to do AI.
Well, they're thinking about it, but they're not going to do it yet. Kind of percolating in the back of their mind.
No plans.
Yeah.
They said no plans.
Percolating in the back of their minds, right? Yeah, I mean, right now the Switch is behind me. It's on my shelf, and it's not even hooked up to the TV. And I mean, there are a couple games I would want to play. Bayonetta 3, Metroid Dread. But then a part of me is like, maybe those games will be better on the Switch too. So why even play them now? And I'm like, yeah, you're right, Rand. It's a good thought. You know? So.
Uh, See, my Switch was a gift from
Hmm.
a very awesome friend, so I have like that
I don't get
excuse.
any
Yeah.
gifts.
I bought a Switch initially, and then I sold it. If you do you remember? I sold it. So I was just like,
Mm.
This is just not going to get used." But then, after that, a really awesome friend of mine bought me a OLED. Um, but yeah, I still just there's just not a no nostalgia for that
Yeah.
platform.
Thank you for the question, though. You're one of the you're one of the very few people to ask me, like, "Hey, why'd you buy the Switch?" It's a good question.
It's a good question.
Yeah. Sarah 11 Kevin says one of the things I do appreciate about Gears E-Day is it feels like a reboot without redoing the original game. Thinking about Halo, I do want them to continue the Infinite story with Banished, but if they were to do some type of reboot, I would rather them do a game earlier in the Covenant War, since there would be a story to tell and not have to redo the original game. Thoughts? Interesting about like
I'll let you fill this one.
doing a game earlier than um in the Covenant, where I would imagine you mean like earlier than even Reach. Um, I mean, I wouldn't be against it, but I know there are some people that are very, very much like, no, Halo needs to continue on. We need to get a Halo Infinite 2, or at least a continuation of the current Halo story.
I really hate Halo discourse because no matter what opinion you offer about Halo, it makes everyone mad.
Mm.
Like there's no winning. Like either you make one part of the fan base mad or you make another part of the fan base mad. You know, like, and it must be a nightmare being the developer of that game because they're sort of like in the thick of it, where it's like any sort of I don't know, any sort of direction they give Halo, the one portion of the fan base is not going to be happy with it. You know, I think that's the issue you run into when it comes to some of these legacy properties. You know, but yeah. That's why I don't really comment on Halo anymore because it's just like everyone gets
People don't
mad.
like your opinions about Halo because they know you
Yeah,
don't like
well,
it. So
yeah, but the problem is that's maybe that's what Halo needs.
maybe it does.
Someone, yeah, you know, an outside perspective. But yeah,
Governor Grimm says, "How do you guys see the next round of hardware playing out? Handheld and a base console? Just a handheld with a dock that juices the power level? 3 SKUs? Let third parties like Lenovo, HP make hardware? Thanks, guys." Yeah, I mean,
I
this
think
is.
all of the above.
You think all of the. Wait, you're now on the third party making hardware train? Because before you were not on that train. And now you're on that train?
Screw it, yeah, do it,
Do
everything,
it?
all of the above.
Sure.
I'm honestly not sure about the third party hardware aspect of it. Like, I could see like Microsoft potentially doing it. Because at the end of the day, right now has a responsibility to make Windows more usable for gaming handhelds. Because Steam OS is kicking their ass in that space. And Windows is just awful on a gaming handheld. Like, yeah, it runs the games great, but my God, like the moment you step outside of a game, it's a completely nightmare scenario. And it's like Xbox's responsibility to improve that. And the answer to that might be, hey, shit, we got to make a whole new fucking operating system, or like or at least like a significant rework to the shell. At which point, it's basically just Windows anyway, and Xbox and Windows start converging to a point where it's just impossible to ignore.
Mm.
Um, so I think it could go either way. Where it's like there could be some kind of impact where it's like, well, we've made this
Hey, Jez.
Windows like Xbox up. Yeah.
Leave the call and come back because you're constantly breaking up and roboting.
Oh, shit.
Jez's UK internet. Always screwing up. Sad, really, you know? Because I was sitting there listening to him talk, and I'm just like, okay, you sound fine. Oh, no, you're roboting. Oh, you sound fine.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I think it's Discord in my area. I do see. Is it any better now?
I
Any better?
mean, it sounds better now, yeah.
I can see the latency light flashing from green to yellow to red. So I don't know. A bit touch and go there, buddy.
Well, you should complain to Discord about it.
Yeah, maybe.
All
Maybe.
right. Let us take another question here. I mean, personally, I think it's going to be a handheld and a console, and I've been saying that for a while. We'll see. Nate Miller says, "Would you rather the next Xbox be all digital and the only way to get first-party games is through Game Pass, or the next Xbox being handheld only, and the only way to get first-party games is physical cartridges?" Hashtag some people just want to watch the world burn. Oh my lord.
Physical cartridges.
I mean, if those were the two
Damn.
options, it would be Xbox all digital with first party games only in Game Pass. For me. Because I do not want the
Yeah,
next I
same.
do not want the next Xbox to be only a handheld.
Yeah, I don't want it to be only a handheld. The handheld has to be an option for
Yes.
me.
Silas says, "Happy Slow Gaming News Month. Rand, pick one book or series that you would love to have a game adaptation of, and name a game that you would love to have spin off into a book or a series." Sure. Mistborn from Brandon Sanderson, I think, would make an excellent video game adaptation. A lot of powers that you can use. You could, oh, man, I'm just thinking of like From Software's design philosophy, like some of their artwork, into Scadrial's planet and some of the cities there would work beautifully. Uh, because like the powers in Mistborn have to do with like pushing and pulling metal. So like basically in a quick explainer is like in Mistborn Jez, you can push and pull off metal. So if there's like a coin, right? What a lot of the Mistborns do is they'll have a coin, so they could use the coin, but they could push it. So like if an enemy comes, they could just throw the coin super fast through their head, right? Because they can just
Huh.
push the coin. But
Huh.
also, you can fly because you could push the coin onto the ground and then push yourself off the coin to fly through the air, and then use other metal objects around in the environment to keep yourself flying. But then you could also pull things to you. There's different types of stuff in
Bro,
Mistborn that you can do.
that is a weird concept, bro.
No, it's
Okay.
bro. It'd work perfectly. As for a game into an adaptation or a book, I don't know. A lot of the biggest ones already have book adaptations. Halo's got books. Gears has got books. World of Warcraft's got books. Resident Evil's got books. I mean, if you're big enough, you sort of already have all the cross media stuff, anyways. I don't know. I never really thought about that. Oh,
I
speaking
mean,
of,
the rumors that Elden Ring was gonna get some kind of
yeah, Elden
adaptation.
Ring. Elden Ring would be cool if it was written by
I
George R.
worry
R.
about
Martin.
that though. Like one of the appeals for me of Elden Ring and another, Soulsian kind of games is its vagueness. Like I'm sitting here thinking like, how the fuck do you translate the sort of whispering vagueness from Dark Souls and Elden Ring? How do you translate that to TV? Like that'd be really hard to do in a that'd be hard to do well at least. Um, I don't know, but I'm intrigued. George R. R. Martin was the one who was teasing it, which I thought was funny because all the Game of Thrones, well, not what are the books called? The books are called something else, right?
Song of Ice and Fire.
Song of Ice and Fire, yeah. So all the all the book fans are like cringing because it's like the guy wants to work on Elden Ring instead of them books.
I know. Instead
You
of
know.
the 2 books he still owes us to finish off the series.
2 books?
2 books. Yeah. Winds of Winter
I would
and
have.
Dream of Spring.
He should let me write them.
Yeah, shouldn't he? Did you also see, supposedly, speaking of cross-media stuff, the Horizon Netflix series got canceled because I guess the showrunner or the guy
Drama
who was
about the showrunner.
yeah the guy. So
I did see that.
I would imagine Sony's gonna shop that around to other streaming outlets and partners because they're probably gonna want a show or movie based around that.
Mm.
What else we got? We have good old Collinwood. Hello, Rand and Jez. We've gotten to the middle of 2024 so far. What are your games of the year? I would say probably
Elden Ring.
for me. You say Elden Ring? Is it a game is it a game I played this year or a game that came out this year? Because there's
Nah, it probably means game that came out this year.
yeah. I mean, Prince of Persia: Lost Crown and Banishers are probably my 2 favorites so far. Trying to think of the other games I played. I mean, I played Final Fantasy VII Remake, but that I don't think counts, right?
Probably not.
Yeah, so it's probably Prince of Persia: Lost Crown, honestly.
I don't know if I played that many new games this year.
Although
what games even came out?
I have a feeling once I'm done with Cyberpunk, I'm gonna be saying Cyberpunk's the best game of the year. I just have this feeling, bro. Like when I was doing the prologue, I was sitting there, I was like, oh, bro, I'm gonna love this.
I mean, I'm glad you're playing it post fixes because there were a few bugs that I experienced on the PC version when it launched, where it was like there's like this really emotional, moving moment, and then like a character model will glitch the fuck out.
I already had. It's funny. The beginning of the game when you drop off the chick's body with the trauma unit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm walking back inside. And Jackie just walks through the wall, walks through some like closed lockers, and like they all open up with like papers flying out. He just clipped right through the wall, right through some lockers, and opened them up. Oh shit! And I was like, oh
yeah, I've not seen that bug.
Like, okay, interesting.
Yeah, I've not seen that one. That's interesting indeed.
Caldweeb15, Jez, can you please press your Xbox sources to ask them about their plans to improve the Xbox PC store? All the games should be launching on the Xbox PC store, and I feel like the reason they don't is some unnecessary restrictions Microsoft is imposing. If they want to compete by selling people on the idea of an ecosystem, instead of porting to other platforms, they need to get their cloud and PC store offerings in order.
I think Microsoft is really aware of how their PC store is perceived right now. So, like, I don't think me pressing the issue is going to help at this point. But I agree that there's clearly some sort of... There's a chicken and egg situation where it's like, nobody uses the Microsoft Store for games, except for PC Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, why would a dev bring their game to it?
Yep. And
then it's like, after a game has left PC Game Pass, why would a dev bother updating it? You know, because nobody's using it.
Exactly.
You know, it's
but nobody uses it because nobody's on the platform because the games aren't there. Games. Because the devs won't put the games there because there's no people there to use it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's literally the Windows Phone situation with the app gap. So like, it's difficult, you know. I suppose but the thing is, unlike Windows Phone didn't have PC Game Pass to help with the situation. So, like, I do think that at least the situation will improve over time with regards to the dev experience potentially hindering the games we get on the system. But Microsoft knows that they've got their work cut out there. So, I suppose stay tuned and pray. I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, Caldweb's right. All games should be launching on the Xbox PC store, and they don't, and that should tell you all you need to know about how many people actually use the Xbox PC store.
Yeah.
Because developers will make a version of their game if there's people there to buy it. But there aren't any people there to buy it because nobody uses the store. So how do you improve that? How do you make that happen outside of just giving developers money to launch versions of the games on the PC store? I don't know. Is that a viable solution? Probably not. Is Steam just too big? Probably. Will the Xbox PC store ever get better? It might get better in the sense of feel and all those sort of things. But honestly, I'll make another prediction. I don't think you'll ever see all games launch on the Xbox PC store. I don't think it'll ever improve in that manner of the way people want it to be. I think they're literally going to be stuck like this forever. And I think it will hurt their whole ecosystem offering because we've talked about it, like biggest game of last year, Hogwarts Legacy. Guess what? You couldn't buy it on the Microsoft store.
Yeah.
Resident Evil, like the biggest
Elden Ring's not there.
The biggest games on PC aren't on your store, so basically makes your store useless.
I can't force people to use it. So.
Yeah, you can't force people to use it. So what are you going to do? I don't think that's ever going to change, honestly, ever.
Mm-hmm. We'll see.
So, like, and maybe they don't care. Maybe they're fine with people buying their games on Steam. I don't know. But I don't think it's something that's ever going to change. And I don't even know how you change it because I don't think you can throw all the money at the world at that and get it to change. They've had so many false starts with the PC space that I think it just screwed them so completely. So that's just my take. I could be wrong, but I don't think I will be. Dave Ramos says, Happy 4th of July, y'all. I have a comment and a thanks. I just finished Hellblade 2 and the game does start off slow, but got better and better as I went on. I could see myself doing another playthrough. And thanks, Rand and Jez. Definitely a dynamic duo worth following. Well, thank you. And I'm glad you enjoyed Hellblade 2 and actually went and finished it. And even though it started off slow, you stuck with it and you really enjoyed it. I wish certain people could be like that, but
yeah,
maybe not on this podcast.
I wanna get this question from Backsakes, who says, Jez, I played the Altars demo and loved it. Did you get to play more than the demo? I'm not sure how long the demo is. I did get to play quite a lot of it though. I got to a point, like, for those who don't know, the Altars is the next game from the team behind This War of Mine, which is a amazing game. Sort of survival narrative depressing game. And the Altars is kind of similar. It's basically if you've ever seen the movie Moon, it's kind of like that, but also a survival game. With like really strong narrative delivery and story and stuff. I got to some of the climatic moments in my playthrough were absolutely shocking. And it made me think like, oh god, some of these altars that you spawn are actually completely psychotic.
Yeah.
Which is gonna have crazy implications as the story progresses. So I'm really excited for that game. I think it's gonna be special.
Yeah. Let's see. We got Monkey versus Tramps. Quote, things can only get better. Can only get better now I found you and you and you and you. Things can only get better indeed. Hopefully.
Things can only get better.
Achievement says, in Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo takes portals to various levels, and it's kind of part of the game mechanic. Why couldn't Banjo 4 have Banjo takes different portals to various Xbox franchise universes? Imagine Kazooie...
Holy shit, that's a really good idea, actually.
Imagine Kazooie being turned into a Lancer, or Banjo wearing Mjolnir armor, and Kazooie is the Cortana-like AI. Maybe he's in the Sea of Thieves being turned into a ship. That could play on nostalgia and be a good way to reintroduce Banjo to a new audience. You know what?
That's a great idea.
I've made this pitch before, but with Forza Horizon. You remember that, Jez?
Oh yeah.
where I said, how about a Forza Horizon DLC where each parts of the island are a part of, like, here's the Gears of War part of the island, and it's all Gears related stuff, and here's the Halo part of the island or the Fable part of the island. So this is kind of just in the Banjo thing. That could probably work, because then it's an advertisement for the games. It could almost be like Astrobot in a sense, in a way.
I really feel like it's weird how shy Microsoft is at celebrating their IPs like across platforms. The only time they've really bothered doing this is with Killer Instinct, and they did a great job with Killer Instinct.
Yeah, they did.
You know, like Rash and Ram in Killer Instinct, fucking cool as hell. Like why
Arbiter?
haven't they done that more? Yeah, Arbiter. Like they
I don't
do
know.
a lot of.
There must be some
they've
sort of restrictions or something, right?
I don't know.
Or some red tape you have to cut through. But, like, honestly, we all know how I feel about the banjos. But hey, I'm all for my banjo bros getting the game. If you could have a game where, like, Banjo was going around in different portals into different Xboxes, universes, and Kazooie ended up being a Lancer, and Banjo was dressed as, like, Carmine or something, and you went through some level with that would even probably get me to play it. And I would
exactly.
never touch Banjo in a million years.
Yeah, that's how you get people who are not into Banjo to play Banjo.
You need to pitch this. We need to pitch this to Phil.
Yeah, I'll pitch it to Phil.
Yeah.
Pitch it, Phil. Lee T. Sanders in chat says he just added his Patreon question if you need to refresh.
I will when I get to the bottom of it.
Right.
Not Skywalker.
Super chats as well.
Because it's such a slow news week, I'd be curious to hear if either of you all have insight into any of the following topics. Just one of these is fine, obviously. I have both a Japanese and a British themed inquiry. 1, Xbox's Tokyo Game Show absence or not. We talked about that. Or 2, British projects we only heard about once during Tory's rule. Are Project Mara and Everwild still alive? We'll talk about that, I guess. Are Project Mara and Everwild still alive? Everwild's still alive, yes.
Yeah, Everwild's definitely still alive. I don't know if Project Mara is anything more than a concept.
Don't know about Project Mara.
Yeah, don't know a damn thing about Project Mara.
But yes, Everwild is still alive. For now.
I think it's kind yeah. I think it's frankly weird that they announced Project Mara, because it was literally nothing.
Yeah.
And like, you know, is it more than a tech demo? And if it isn't, why even bother talking about it? You know. But
yeah, I don't know. Paul Vitus says, I just finished reading The Way of Kings. Oh, he started his Sanderson journey. Amazing. Great recommendation. What book of Sanderson's would be the best for a video game adaptation? Any dream developer to pair it with? I think the best would be Mistborn, which I already talked about. I think Mistborn would be the best for a video game adaptation. What developer to do it? That's an interesting question. Maybe Crystal Dynamics? Maybe I know who Brandon would want. Brandon would want From Software. He loves From Software. He loves playing their games. He streamed Elden Ring and stuff. So probably.
Oh really?
Yeah, he's a big fan of From Software.
I thought he was dead.
No, Brandon Sanderson's not dead. What are you talking about?
What am I thinking of then?
Thinking of Robert Jordan, who wrote the Wheel of Time.
Yeah, that. Oh, I thought
Brandon Sanderson finished the Wheel of Time.
Okay.
Yeah. Kraken56 says, hey guys, I can't stop thinking about Fable. I think it would be the first game from Xbox Game Studios that isn't one of the big three that is a massive ecosystem seller. Will it succeed at that level, and do you think it's possible they delay it to Q1 to steer clear of GTA 6? Or is it releasing 1 month ahead enough time? Thank you guys. Love listening every week. I do agree that Fable, I think, is going to be absolutely huge.
You think?
I think so. Yeah. Why, you don't?
No, I do. I know something cool about Fable that I can't tell anyone.
Well, tell me after the show, bro.
Yeah, okay.
I do think Fable will be absolutely massive. Will it be an ecosystem seller? I mean, who knows about Microsoft's like multi-platform plans and all that sort of stuff. But if Fable gets reviewed very well and as big as we think it is, maybe. But as GTA 6 is interesting because I think we know from Tom Warren's reporting that they are planning on releasing Fable. Well, we know they are planning on releasing Fable next year because they said so in the trailer, but also that they were looking for between October to December. We don't know when Grand Theft Auto 6 is launching. We know it's the fall, right? We know Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming in the fall. I feel like that's been a thing that we know, right?
I don't know. I don't know, personally.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to come in the fall. Either way, everyone's going to be very worried about announcing release dates when they don't know when Grand Theft Auto is launching. Because yeah, I do agree you can't launch a game right after it, the week of, probably the month of. So if you'd want to jump out and get out a month beforehand, so you have to be very careful about release dates around that game because nobody's going to care. Elman says, Happy Friday. Do you know if Microsoft plans to add support for native PC Game Pass games for ARM anytime soon? Seems odd that there are some games that can be run in x86 mode, but people have to get the games via Steam because Microsoft doesn't let you download non-native games.
I actually got a statement from Microsoft on this. You reminded me, I completely forgot about this.
Okay.
It was a non statement though. They said something along the lines of we're continuously working to improve the situation or whatever, blah 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 blah. So Microsoft is aware of the fact that they've messed up there. But I think the whole Windows on ARM platform is it's going to take years before it's really mature. So I would if you are someone who's been considering buying a Windows on ARM PC and you do want to do gaming on it, I would really hold off on it for the time being.
Okay. And we have one from Lee Sanders. As this is really a WWE podcast at heart, what are you guys enjoying about the WWE product at the moment? If you could take your current favorite and your childhood favorite, who would face off? Jez hasn't even watched since WrestleMania.
Yeah, I'm kind of really behind.
I mean, I
don't get to use the TV very much.
I check out clips on Twitter. I don't watch.
We're both like really nostalgic for wrestling, but we don't watch the current product. What I like about the current product as someone who's only casually watched it a little bit recently. I just love how much positivity has returned to the brand and how much hype there is for the brand again. Like I saw on Twitter earlier, like The Rock making headlines again, like being in a heel character, even kayfabing it in real life and shit. Saying like his new heel character is the best heel that there's ever been. He said, which is just hilarious because he's just like he's staying in character, like even in interviews and stuff. I think that's just amazing, and it's that level of excitement that I don't think wrestling's had, like capturing the zeitgeist in a long time. So that's like kind of where I'm at with it, as someone who only aspires to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's always about The Rock. So it's about the final boss. It's about oh, dude, yeah, of course.
I didn't know that.
Oh, love The Rock. It's the reason, yeah. But I'll probably watch again when Rock comes back, challenges Cody Rhodes or whatever. But I kind of keep abreast of what's going on. I see clips on Twitter and stuff, but I don't really watch. We have Grandman with 2 saying, I will cash up Jez $50 to beat Persona this year. That's $50, Jez. Still got...
I'll do it for free.
Do it for free. The Andrew with the 199 says, congrats on being rid of the Tory C words. Here's $1. Here's money.
Yeah, I read that one out.
Yeah. Uh,
There's no better word to describe the Tories.
yeah. Pius Augustus. Good day, lads. At 48, I find I'm really only enjoying first-person shooters as I age. Do either of you find that as you age, you play one genre more than the others? Inverted for the win. Yeah, you kind of do get set in your ways. You're like, oh, I kind of like this, but don't like that so much. Or maybe you just don't have time like you used to. Like, hey, when I was in my 20s, I had all the time in the world and I played everything I can. But like, you just don't have a lot of time anymore.
Yeah.
You got a lot of responsibilities, so you don't play a lot of different stuff. But I don't find myself playing one genre, but I don't play a variety of things as I once did, even like 10 years ago. I'd play a lot of indie games, and I sort of feel like a lot of the indie games, at least now, aren't really that great, or at least they're maybe on PC, and I don't play them till they come to Xbox. I know my buddies have been trying to get me to play Inscription. You know Inscription, Jez?
Yeah, I got that downloaded.
Yeah.
I've never played it, though.
I've never played it either, but they like 3 of them are all like, you'd like this game. And when 3 of them tell me that, I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's something I would enjoy. But I just have in my head this idea of Inscription as a card game, and I don't really like card games, but apparently it's not. So I think maybe after Cyberpunk I'll play Inscription or something, but yeah. Spartan,
It's a good time to catch up on the backlog right now.
Yeah. Spartan661 with the 499 says, if the Xbox Series S is a potato, then the Nintendo Switch is a bean. I'm convinced the Series S is like a 1 pound spud and Nintendo is a 0.5 ounce bean. Yeah. I think that's a response to PlayStation being like, why isn't this here? We want to push the PS5 to its limits. That's why it's not on Xbox. But at the same time, we're bringing it to the Switch for the family audience.
And smoking PlayStation.
Fantasticals, member 45 months, says, Rand, did you read the King Killer Chronicle books by Patrick Rothfuss? Great fantasy series. I have not read them yet. I do have them. It's also an incomplete series that people have been waiting like 10 years now on book 3, which it sounds like he's never going to write. And I'd rather not start something that I know will never be finished. But people do talk about it as how amazing it is. So maybe at some point I will get to it. I do have so many books to read. I am reading a horror book right now called from Ronald Malfi called Come With Me. I'm like 130 pages into it out of 400.
Why do you read so many books?
Because, bro, they're amazing. All the different stories, all the different characters. It's great.
Hard work.
So I'm reading that right now. I'm also, because I finished Changes in Dresden Files, I am now reading Side Jobs. It's a collection of short stories that you're supposed to read after you read Changes. So I also have that. Yeah, as for TV shows, I finished The Bear. All 10 episodes. Weakest season by far. I still think it's really good, but it's clearly half a season. And I think because of that, the thorough line of the line, like the plot of the restaurant got really put in the background. And they started to do character-specific episodes, which were great, but they really... it really kind of stopped the forward progression of what's going on with the restaurant. And a lot of people kind of say it's a little bit too artsy-fartsy. And I know online it's a lot of the fans don't like this season. And I could see why, because it's such a character-driven season. But people are really invested in like Carmi, who's the main character. And that stuff kind of got put on hold, and it really seems like this season was essentially all set up with no payoff, because all the payoff's going to come next season. So people are pretty disappointed about this new season. And I also finished Dark Matter on Sci-Fi, which is a Great show. I recommend it. If you're into sci-fi, you definitely should watch it. And Apple TV's got. I know you don't like Apple, but they got some banger shows, bro. They got some
Nah, I've
banger
heard
shows
good things
over
about
there.
Apple TV. I have.
They got some banger shows. So, yeah, man, the show went on longer than I thought it would, for sure. You know, I guess we know how to make things work here, and go for as long as we possibly can. Yeah, I want to thank everybody for dropping by today on July 5th for episode 323. It's been, yesterday was July 4th. Last night was ridiculous, bro. Like, all the fireworks. I was trying to read, and I just couldn't because it was just constant fireworks explosions everywhere to the point where I was like, I can't hear myself think right now, you know? So, yeah, hopefully everybody has a good weekend. And a lot of people have an extended weekend because they took Thursday and Friday off. If you're listening to this later on Spotify or iTunes, we appreciate you. Leave a review or a rating if you would be so kind. If you're still here on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. We got another
Smash that
late entry into a super chat here from Brett, who says, "How is the PS5 more powerful when it doesn't run the First Ascendant at 60 FPS like the Series S and X?" Oh, is that the case? Is that what's happening with the First Ascendant? I did see Digital Foundry talk about why PlayStation runs some games better than Xbox, and I think it came down to PlayStation tends to run cross-gen games better, or games on Unreal Engine 4, while Xbox runs like UE5 games better, or like next-gen games better or something. I don't
Someone
really know.
at Microsoft told me that they did concede that they need to improve their shader model. Now, that doesn't mean a lot to me, but they did concede that.
I don't know.
Yeah. They conceded that. So it sounds like they know that there are aspects of the system that could be improved.
Yeah.
Which I think is, fine. But the systems are just a little bit different, but they're also very, very similar. So like when there's like a small difference between the two, it's very noticeable, right? I guess is the issue.
Yeah, but I hope everybody has a great rest of the weekend. We'll be back on Tuesday, most likely for an Xbox Ultimate show on Patreon. So you can always sign up for that, patreon.com/XB2. Links in the description, all that good stuff. And yeah, we will see you then. If not, we will see you Friday next week for another edition of the Xbox 2. Until then, we love you all. And yeah, keep it gaming, guys. Later.
Rock and roll, baby.